All right, welcome back, everyone, to I Didn't Read Your Book. I am your host, Lutch, and today we are not doing a regular podcast, but in fact, another edition of IDRYB Live. I am being joined for now by two of recent IDRYB guests, both atheists. And I figured that we talked a little bit in about some stuff in the IDRYB episodes, but because the focus was really about their work, I figured why not expand that conversation. So first, I want to welcome in who you may remember the more recent episode, IDRYB 19, Altar Boy to Atheist, Ryan Bedell. What's going on, brother?
All is well, my friend. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Very much looking forward to this conversation.
Me too. I just cracked a fresh Narragansett here. I'm ready to go.
All right, got my Truly all up in the building, ready to go, and I see Anirudh is backstage. Is he ready to go?
Hell yeah, get him in here.
Alrighty, and Anirudh Garg, you will remember him from his IDRYB 08 appearance for his book, The Greater Man, as well as many conversations that he and I, among with others, have had. Welcome back, Anirudh. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on again.
Anirudh and I have chatted so many times. This is the first time we're meeting face to face.
Oh, nice. So I thought one of the biggest benefits of specifically the episode that Ryan and I did about his book, because it was a little bit it was a lot more focused on religion, was the fact, especially coming from my very religious father, just the experience of, and I wore the Reason Rally hoodie again. Oh, there we go. But yeah, just the opportunity for someone who's not an atheist to see two atheists, or in this case, it's going to be three, talking about stuff that matters to us that isn't specifically dealing with atheism, or more pointed, dealing with talking down about religion. So, like I said, I wanted to make sure during our episode, Ryan, that we stayed focused on your work. But now that don't know, we give a shit about that. No, just kidding.
No, it's the worst. You're right.
And we've got Jimmy Dean in the comments. What's going on? How are you, Jimmy Dean? Jimmy Dean, let us know what your religious beliefs are. But I actually would like to extend the same question to Anirudh, because as both Ryan and I talked about specifically how we are atheists, and Anirudh, you said you are an atheist. Do you claim that title? Did you have a religious? Did you have a religious upbringing, or is it just not something that was ever a thing?
Yeah. So I grew up Hindu. My family is Hindu. Specifically Brahmin. So if I were to give a brief explanation for Hinduism, the Brahmin class, these are your scholars, your priests. It was the expectation. My great grandmother said this, that either you were a doctor or some sort of lawyer, or you were a PhD candidate. That was the exception. So my great grandmother was the matriarch of the family on my mother's side. If you wanted to get good with her, you would go study. And whether that would be in a university or in religion, the emphasis of scripture was incredibly important. And my family, being Brahmin, had a lot of religious expectations that I actually was a strong believer up until I was maybe 12. After that, I didn't care as much. I went to a weird little brief militant atheist phase. I think everyone does that who leaves the religion.
Exactly about that.
But nowadays, I'm not particularly religious. I don't have religious beliefs. I'm sometimes spiritual, borderline, but for the most part, religion is not something that I think about. A greater power, higher power, that's not something that I think about.
Can I probe you a little bit, Anirudh?
Of course.
I'd love to hear what you mean by spirituality, because I feel like that's
exactly where I was going.
I feel like it's such a different term for so many people, and I've described myself that way before too, but I feel like it's subjective enough where we probably mean totally different things.
Yeah, so I think that we are limited senses are not enough to understand the complexity of the universe. Like, we don't really know what we know, and we don't even know what we know is correct. Our understanding of reality is very, very limited. We are crude creatures who make slightly less crude machines to understand the world. But even then, we don't really know anything. So there's a lot of gap of stuff that we don't know. Some people like to put religion, God. I effectively state it as there are probably a lot of spiritual or metaphysical senses and sensations and experiences that we probably can't feel because we're materially attached. I would love to be in a world where I could experience that and have that type of perspective, omniscience, some sort of, if there is a higher power, if it's there, if spirits exist, if there is such a thing as a soul. I really don't know. I like discussions about it, specifically about consciousness and about how that interacts. I like thinking about it, not necessarily in the perspective of like there's some sort of grand purpose, but it's something that we have to discover. So I put spirituality in the realm of sensations and experiences that we have yet to discover as a species.
It's a pretty good way to tie a bow on it. How do you use it, Ryan?
Yeah.
Like, do you call yourself a spiritual person?
Yeah, I mean, that a lot of what you had to say definitely resonates with me. I think for me, it's sort of a sense of wonder and awe at a lot of that. Like, there's so much that we don't understand, and to me, that like resonates as that almost like big picture feeling that I got when I was religious. So it's not like I'm not attributing anything otherworldly to it necessarily, and it's not to say it's ruling anything out either. It's just more of like a, wow, holy shit, the world is complex sort of thing, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you say that, because the inspiration behind the name for my podcast that I had before IDRYB, the name was the Aw Really podcast, and it was spelled AWE. And it, like, just because that sentiment of saying that and feeling that, of like, oh, really? That is what I wanted to elicit with that podcast. And as I've gone further down this road of atheism, that's always been a word that has really has done a good job of explaining, how I feel about things that I would consider spiritual. I do think that, it is, it's important that we have some level of spirituality, no matter what that is. And the fact that the word is very amorphous and whatever, I think is a product of the fact that so often, and you'll hear me say this all the time, and this may be a direct quote from Sam Harris, if not, it's his idea, but that religion is the only game in town for spirituality. And so oftentimes you will find, as Anirudh, as you said, when we go through that militant atheist stage, then we're worried about the stuff that we don't believe anymore. And we haven't yet gotten to that place of, okay, what do I believe now? And I think I think more and more people are occupying that space. Wouldn't you say that non-religious but spiritual space where there's something, but even if people will put religious language to it and call it God and call it religion, they're really not believing in any kind of God that is from any religious text that we're familiar with. They're really not following any ancient religion of any kind.
I mean, it's the fifth stage of grief, dude. Like, the militant atheist phase is anger. It's just, you're getting to a point where like you accept that this thing, religion, that had filled that void in your life is now gone, and you need to figure out how you're going to survive without it. It's I definitely am now, after the fact, like, hindsight's 2020, and didn't realize it at the time, but I definitely consider it in like the stages that it took me to get from religion to atheism.
That's definitely a good way of putting it. And so before we move on, I always thank you for reminding me, Jimmy Dean. I always like to make sure that everyone is on the same page when we are talking about atheism, and that Ryan and I were talking shortly about semantics and the meaning of words and stuff. So it's the comment that Jimmy Dean put here is one that I kind of feel like is going to be directly relevant to this. And the idea behind the difference between an atheist and and agnosticism, atheism and agnosticism. So just so everybody's on the same page, Gnosticism, it has to do with knowledge, and theism has to do with believing in a god or gods. So if you are an agnostic, it means you don't know about something. If you are an atheist, it means you do not accept the claim that any god exists. What it doesn't mean to be an atheist, it does not mean that you claim that no god or gods exist. And so by being an agnostic atheist, I stand firmly within, all my intellectual purity, saying that I don't know. However, I don't accept the claim, and therefore I am an atheist. So, Jimmy Dean, I'd be very interested to see if, based on that understanding of agnosticism and atheism, if you stand by that statement that you're anti-theist, which I am as well, but that you are not an atheist.
I don't know how to interpret that one. Not gonna lie.
We'll put that one to the side for now.
No, I think it's a great topic, though. I'd love to hear, as you mentioned that, Lutch, like, so you consider yourself an anti-theist. What does that mean to you?
So I think that kind of exactly what we were talking about, in the sense that religion's the only game in town. By being that only game in town and being a very crooked game, it prevents people from having the resources to, let's say, discover their own personal spirituality. And it's a take it or leave it thing. And so, thankfully, a lot of atheists, a lot of people will go on that spiritual journey and will, go and read philosophy and all this, whatever, other religions and whatever they need to determine what their spiritual standing is. But a lot of people just see, oh, you believe in a big, a magic man in the sky. I don't believe in that, and that's the end of it. And so, as bad as a lot of us atheists can say it is to be religious and to hold these clearly untrue ideas and make legislation and stuff based on that. As bad as that is, not rejecting that structure and not replacing it with anything seems to be even worse.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that. I need to think about how I want to say this. I don't know that I consider myself an anti-theist, in the sense that, like, I appreciate, I think, because of my journey to atheism, that, like, it sucks to be on the receiving end of somebody telling you, like, your way of life is fucked up. And as I became more of an outspoken atheist, I think religious people in my life often said things like, oh, like, do you understand the path that you're going down? Like, you're leaving everything that's right about the world. And so I don't necessarily like to say it back. It doesn't necessarily reflect what I believe, I guess. Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I don't necessarily think that religion is the greatest thing around. And do I think that it is the greatest plug to fill that hole that we're talking about, that is, like, spirituality in your life? Not even so. But, like, I don't know. I can't necessarily shout it back either, if that makes sense.
You don't need to, because there's a difference between being a militant atheist and being an anti-theist. And being an anti-theist is a position that you hold, and being militant is more about your behavior.
Sure.
And so I would say I've since I lost my faith, I've always been an anti-theist, and there was a time I was both. And then I realized that yelling people about what they should believe is exactly what I hated about religion. And so maybe I shouldn't do it. But that doesn't, at no point did I stop thinking that letting people come together on false ideas and just living that way is ever good. That cannot be a good thing.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that there is something that we sometimes miss when we're talking about atheism, where oftentimes religion is paired with some sort of dogma or broader political ideology. And sometimes when we're just trying to reject that ideology, we end up rejecting wholesale all religions. So, for example, in the United States, it's evangelical Christianity that's very homophobic, anti-women's choice. It has a lot of issues. And so we like to think of that as like a political target. So we're saying because we don't like the politics of this organization, all of the ideology from that religion is intrinsically bad, which there's some merit to that. Some religions have terrible teachings, but the extrication of spirituality from dogma might be a necessary step, because even in the atheist movement, there's a lot of dogma centered around not in religion per se, but in political ideology.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people who go drink the Kool-Aid on Maoism, Marxism, Leninism, all these
Absolutely.
bullshit ideologies, and start thinking, all right, these are the answers to my immaterial suffering, my lack of happiness, or some sort of broader meaning. This will like bring the community and solve their problems. And I'm not doing it because I don't have that dogma. When reality is just people want some sort of answer, some sort of political ideology, some dogma that gives them that answer, that'll give them that essential perfect world. And I think the struggle should be, as an anti-theist, to fight against dogma, not necessarily religious belief itself.
I think, yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think that's pretty much where I stand. I don't think that it's specifically any one or any specific group of religions. I think it's the concept of religion itself. I don't think it's specifically Christians. I don't think it's specifically Muslims, anything like that. But it's the notion of faith itself, the idea of we can have ideas that are unsubstantiated and run with those ideas.
Yeah. And me, I am a hardcore data nerd. I like material understanding. So I guess I have a mindset to be anti-theist in the first place. Yeah.
And I mean, what do you think we could because if there's, I'm sure we're going to get into the weeds about those political positions. But before we go off on all that, is there something that we could say is an underlying theme for specifically people coming up these days, and maybe they didn't necessarily have the same journey to atheism that we all did coming from religion, or maybe they did, but I think the nuns, as they call them now, identifying which religion, none. That's becoming a larger and larger portion of the populace. I'm trying to think about what it is about my own journey and about my own positions that I would want to pass down, in specifically to somebody who doesn't have that spiritual aspect. And I don't know, I'm kind of coming up blank. What do you guys think?
There's a good book about it that I've read.
I didn't.
That's the whole point, right?
So, you and I, in our episode, we talked a lot about, the stuff around, the journey and kind of a lot of this stuff. So why don't you tell us what exactly do you think is there for people? What have you found that is there that can replace or take the place of religion or whatever?
Sure. So this is a chapter from the book. It's a story I like to tell about a trip that I took to Iceland. And when I was in Iceland, I was sort of on the cusp of having had my first experiences, like calling myself an atheist out loud. So it was like a totally new sort of
guy in the
territory
bar,
for
right?
me. Yeah, that was in Istanbul. That's right. We did have that conversation. But yeah, so I booked this trip to Iceland and just was excited to go like for a trip. I hadn't thought about it in spiritual terms at all, and got there and just like had never seen a physical landscape like that before. Like the best way that I can describe it is alien, like things that I just never laid eyes on. And it was that sense of wonder and awe. So I think I find it a lot in nature, to take that and distill it to a single idea. I also think beyond nature, like a great piece of music can make me feel spiritual. A great film, like I think it's very emotional in a lot of ways, right? Like it's not necessarily about the same thing being spiritual for everyone so much as it's like almost its own distinct emotion.
And again, it that brings me to, I've had a number of conversations about this stuff with my dad, who, like I've said, is religious. Obviously, we're brought up in the church, and when I try to nail down like why do you feel that what you believe is correct? A lot of times I'll get the typical well, just look around, look at the beauty in the world, and I wish there was like, I feel partially like it's my responsibility, seeing that there's a gap here, to to figure out how to articulate. Because I mean, this man is a doctor. He is an extremely intelligent man. He is wise beyond his years. He's emigrated to this country. I can't say enough about him. He's my dad. But as for any religious person, when it comes to this stuff, it doesn't fucking make sense. And so what I just want to be able to say that is not a good way of looking at things, because, and I think the reason we're at a disadvantage as atheists is that we're okay with not having that answer. And I'm wondering if there is something that we could put in there that lets people who rely on faith feel better about not having that answer.
Yeah, I think this is a very tricky situation. It's a very important question too, because it's something that I wrestled with when I was writing my book on masculinity. I think it's very important that anytime someone develops a relationship with masculinity, that it answers some sort of spiritual need inside them. And at least for some men, they do it in terms of their hobbies, whether it be something as simple as photography or playing music. You would experience that on a different level to satisfy some sort of need that you can't explain immediately. There's food, but there also is these deeper emotional needs that's very unexplainable. We like to think that we're rational creatures. We are not. We are incredibly emotional. We're very volatile. And so for some people, their faith becomes a meditative constant. It's something that I have faith in this, the world will move on. Everything else can be crazy, but I have some sort of security, and this need of mine is met. And for some people, that threshold is a lot lower. You're more likely to be an atheist if you're more willing to accept the fact that this world is chaotic, that there aren't any clear-cut answers, and you're okay with that. Some people don't have that. Some people need faith in something bigger, something better, to give them inspiration to go forward. I like to find inspiration in the achievements of people that I admire, in art, in beauty, in I like understanding different perspectives for that. Lady Murasaki's The Tales of Genji, she points out clearly that beauty is fleeting. Our understanding of the world and its intricacies, that'll all keep fading. So constantly looking for those type of earthly pleasures doesn't necessarily satisfy the ethereal pleasure of wanting that security and spirituality. And you are right. As atheists, we struggle to do that because we underplay its importance. And I think that's a dangerous thing to do. So I think one way that we can look at it is maybe a faith in community or a faith in the human condition to get better. I like to think that any problem that we have, we can eventually solve it. It might not be the cleanest solution. We might mess up along the way. We might argue about the minor details. But I do believe that as humanity, we can build a better future. Now, this might just be my indoctrination and liberalism and thinking that the world can keep getting better. But that faith, it's irrational. I have no rational reason for believe that humans will survive climate change or the whole host of issues that we're
That's a good
facing each
point.
other. But I have a faith that we can still challenge these, and that gives me the energy to keep looking for those solutions. Because if I believe that there is a solution to any problem that I have, I can keep pushing forward to find it.
So
Yeah.
would you call this faith that you have in humanity? You say you have no good reason to have faith that humanity will survive
No, I
climate
have
change.
many reasons to not have faith, but I
Yeah.
do have faith.
Right. But is that the same kind of faith that comes with the supernatural? I feel like that's like we're trying to give credence to the quote other side, and rationalize the irrational, because we are, like you said, we are irrational.
Yeah, so
Irrational beings.
I don't exactly have an answer. My faith doesn't really hit the blind spot of what happens after we die. That's like something I cannot answer because I'm very much focused on the material world and the legacy we as a species would leave. I'm not really too interested about the future in which we die. I very much just think upon death we are erased. I find some sort of beauty and peace in that we are there,
Me too.
and what like even though we're insignificant in the universe, that we at least had a fighting chance in it. Some people, they're deeply afraid of that. They miss their loved ones. They want that type of future where they can build that. And I can understand that deeply. I've lost members of my family that I would give anything to see again. But at no point, it is still very difficult for me to accept the fact that I might see them again. I've just made peace with the fact that death exists. And I think maybe if people made that, then I guess the disparity between religious faith and just a faith that we would have in secularism, in secular humanism, or humanity, I think they would be more comparable. But there are certain aspects like death that we just don't really have an answer to.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's just people not able to, and it's crazy because these aren't, the fear of death isn't anything new. Like that's the oldest issue of all time. But it's still, I do believe that originally, religion and science were one and the same, and that that religion was our best attempt at explaining how the world works. But then, of course, science got better, and it got much better, and the stories of religion became irrelevant. I think we would all agree. But yeah, it started out as a very rational way to try to describe what was happening around us, and that is that's something deeply embedded in humanity. We're always looking for explanations, and I am curious as to why. Like, and obviously, as all of us, are recovering theists. So we're all there at one point. But now looking back, it's hard for me to understand how people. Maybe it's the fact that when I was religious, I hadn't been exposed to the ideas of atheism and the reasons why I now find myself an atheist. So maybe it's like somebody, again, to use my dad as an example, if I had the type of conversations that I had with me, then I would be an atheist, obviously. And so it's like, how can you have these conversations and still cling on to this?
You know more better than anyone else how hard it is to change your mind about something. I think we're very fortunate in our atheism, and I don't know how else to say it. Like, that's not an easy process for anyone to change what they fundamentally believe about the world. And like, you see it with politics. Like, people won't even begin to speak about the issues because they're so dug in. Politics and religion are the same thing. It's how you view the world and how you think things happen in this tiny life that we get to live.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
unfortunately too, there are some people who they might be thinking that they're trying to deal with these in good faith, but a lot of people are also willfully ignorant.
totally.
They have a lot of biological biases. intellectual biases that their entire world hinges on these set of beliefs being true. And no amount of questioning, no matter how rational or how good faith it is, will ever allow them to say, okay, maybe I'm wrong in these things. Because if they're wrong there, then a lot of their beliefs start falling apart. And that's a scary thing for many people. So it's effectively like some sort of biological or psychological defense mechanism for some people to be willfully ignorant.
Absolutely.
And you can't really reach people like that.
Yeah, definitely. And just a perfect segue, Jimmy Dean's question here, about our feelings versus just religion in general versus organized religion. At least for me, the organized religion and the religions are I see them as worse because they are more substantial, but only because of that. So if you're let's say a lax Christian, then I would much rather you not believe the every word of the Bible than you believe every word of the Bible. But I don't really see enough of a difference between the two of them to say that. I mean, you're still believing in bullshit to me. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Something that go ahead, Anirudh. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm going to play devil's advocate on this. I think that throughout most of human history, organized religion has been incredibly useful and beneficial for the advent of human progress. I think probably if I were to give it, Islam would have probably been the most important religion in human history, just because of the standardization of Arabic and the ability to create trade routes through peacetime, the assimilation to massive empires, the storage and collection of knowledge. Islam pushed the humanity from a dark age into a golden age. And that alone was so substantial that even though political and religious violence has killed millions of people, Islam would have been a net benefit to the history of humanity. So I think one of the issues with organized religion is it's a great way to consolidate power. It's a great way to do big things. The issue is it's very hard to control the end result of those big things. So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
My alarm bells went off when you said consolidating power. That's never a good thing in my eyes. But
great.
But I do take your point, and absolutely, it like I said, it was the science of its day. It definitely served that purpose when we were there. I just think we've outgrown that. I don't know, Ryan. What do you think about religion in general versus organized religion specifically?
My mind immediately went to sort of the flip side of something I used to hear when I was a Catholic, which is hate the sin, not the sinner. And I mean, I
hate the sinner, not the sin.
Yeah, I mean, I think
murder's fine.
Yeah, I just don't necessarily think that you can really separate the two that much. Like, if you say that you are a Catholic, as I once was, you are claiming that you believe what Catholicism has to say. And like, if you want to call yourself something different, by all means, call yourself something different. But there are people who would say like, oh, I'm like a...
Oh. No, you're good. I'm giving you the
good. Sorry.
Yeah, you're preaching. You're preaching right now. You testify, my brother.
No, I just mean, like, I think if you're going to give yourself that label, you have to accept the consequences of what comes with it. I mean, if you want to call yourself, I once was a Catholic and I still believe some of those things, but like, I'm not a Catholic anymore. Great. That's a very apt description. But if you're going to say, I'm still Catholic, but like, I don't necessarily believe that gay people shouldn't be able to get married. Like, you don't get to pull that card. You're a Catholic if you call yourself a Catholic.
Absolutely. And I 100% agree with you. And that is one of my biggest pet peeves with people calling themselves Christians and or whatever, a reformed this, reformed that. Like, do you believe it or not? If you have to reform it, then you don't believe it. And if you're reforming it, then by what are you using? Like, what are you using to reform the supposed word of the creator of the universe?
So I'm going to push back a little on this just because Well, a lot of these are not clear cut. So, for example, the Bible. Do people follow it word for word? Because it's been translated multiple times. And each translation has different interpretations. And much like with any work of literature, different interpretations mean different people can get different ideas out of the Bible. So there are many followers of Islam who believe that, oh, gay people are awful, but we should protect the rights of trans people, which is one of the reasons why Iran has state-funded sex reassignment surgery for transgender individuals. That's something even the US
Really?
doesn't do. Yeah, so every culture has a different interpretation. Every individual will have a different interpretation. So even if you have an organized religion like Catholicism, individual Catholics would probably have different understanding of sins. Maybe they would even weigh different sins worse. Like I don't know exactly a lot about
They totally do,
sins.
yeah.
Yeah.
Catholicism is different from Islam, I think, specifically in the sense that like the Pope is infallible. What the Pope says goes.
Yeah,
in
and
Catholicism.
Well,
that will change every new pope, right?
right.
They'll say new things.
And so the issue then it's still there. It's still I don't understand that if there are all with Islam, especially if it's in Arabic, then there's no translation. That's the Quran as I understand it.
Even for Islam, there are different
Or is
schools.
it
There's Shia, Sunni, Sufi, Salafist,
right? But the text itself, I
Wahhabist.
mean. But so and now I'm remembering there's the Hadith and all this
I-
other stuff.
I
But
think the argument is less about the sects. Like, I think, yeah, I'm not saying that necessarily if you are a Muslim, you have to believe the same thing as a Sunni and a Shiite. I'm saying, like, if you're going to call yourself a Sunni, then there's a set of beliefs that come with that.
Right.
It's more
Right.
about the word than the fact that, like,
yes,
there are branches of Catholicism and branches of Islam.
So
if that
do you
makes
assume
sense.
that they hold all beliefs if they are Sunni?
I assume they associate at least the major beliefs that are associated with that. So
they're the
let's say,
ones
like,
using the word.
Wait, so
They're
then
the ones saying, "I believe this. I belong to this group." And what this group means is this is defined by these set of beliefs. So when you say, whether it's you're saying I'm a Sunni or a Shiite, or whether you're saying I'm a Protestant or a Catholic, if you're a Catholic and you don't believe that
you're eating the body and blood of Jesus Christ.
then you are not a Catholic.
100%.
That's not what Catholic means. Words mean something.
right. So again, you'd be committing heresy for the Catholic Church, but I think that drawing that line that there's some like sort of objective arbiter, like where do we draw the line that at this point this person is deviating from the religion that they're no longer Catholic?
Whatever the Bible says, whatever the book says.
So, for
That's what
example,
religion is based
the
on,
Bible.
no?
I mean, you remember this? Like, don't wear cloth of two different
Right.
fabrics, right?
So if you do
is
that,
a person not a Christian then?
So
well, no,
actually-
because you can sin and still be a Christian. It has to do with what you believe. Do you believe that? And I think
If they
Ryan, you
believe
might
that is not a sin, is that still?
The Catholic Church would have you believe that the Bible is a living document, that there have been councils that have amended things, that there are decrees by popes that have changed the way things are. I mean, there are reasons that people don't necessarily get mad about, like, eating shrimp. In the Old Testament, you can't eat shrimp. So they justify
eating on
it.
Fridays.
And technically, they would tell you that it's like the Constitution. There are amendments, and at the end of the day, like, if they change an amendment to a constitution, you're expected to follow it. So, like, if you are, let's say, the Catholic Catechism of 2022, and that says gay people shouldn't be able to get married, and you say, I'm Catholic, but I disagree with that, you're not Catholic. That's the most recent interpretation of what it means to be Catholic.
All right. So you're saying that if you deviate any beliefs, you're no longer part of that religion.
Not any, but the ones that are definitive to the label. And I would say the same thing.
So
that
so how do we establish that? I feel like
they're the ones that have they have this rule book. And I would say the same thing for atheism. If you believe that they're in a specific being that is a higher power, then yes, that makes you not an atheist, because that's what atheism means.
So
is
are you no
to
longer
lack
an
that
atheist
belief?
if you're no longer an atheist if you believe in something like the possibility of a soul?
No, because a soul is not a god.
But that's
All right.
also declaring yourself agnostic, Anirudh. It's not declaring yourself atheist. Declaring yourself atheist
agnostic.
is saying, I believe there is no God. And you're not leaving it up to the possibility for other things. If you're leaving it up to the possibility for other things, you can be an agnostic atheist, which is that you are unsure overall, but your prevailing belief is that there is no God.
Just popping that up there. We didn't get to address that, but yeah, Jimmy, I think you might have missed that, but Ryan so eloquently said. And so, Anirudh, is I mean, does that do you still see a contradiction there?
Well, so I just don't see a bright line. So the statement that someone is a Catholic or not, I just don't feel like that's very clear, and it's so unclear.
And that's the issue. That's the issue. It should be very clear. It's something that you claim that it should encompass your entire life, and so it should very clearly, lead to, like, it should in our minds very clearly give us an idea of what you believe, your behavior, your value, all of this stuff. And so if you're going to claim that you're a Catholic, but then also believe things that are different than what Catholicism says, and what other and do things other than what other Catholics do, well, then again, what does the word mean anymore?
I think
I get. Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
Appreciate it. I think it's partially a semantics
like he's gonna
argument.
burst over there.
No, yeah, sorry. I think like it's an identity that someone assumes, right? And I don't like to tell anyone that their identity is wrong. So I don't think it's necessarily that they're not a Catholic. It's just that they're not a very good one. Like,
yeah, I was actually
they're not.
Say that
they're a hypocrite.
Thing. No, I was going to say the exact same thing, because I have Muslim friends who they'll do salat, they've gone to Mecca, they do fasting from Ramadan, and then when their family's not looking, they'll like deep throat a couple of sausages and drink vodka. Right.
So would Allah say that they are they are Muslims, or they are not Muslims?
I have no idea. I'm not.
I don't know. That's
anything.
Really where the question. And do they think?
They say that they're Muslim.
But if I know that
they will punch you if you call them not a Muslim.
Because I wonder why that is. Because the punishment for once being a Muslim and no longer being a Muslim is quite severe. But the
Catholic Church has a great system for this. So instead of telling you are or aren't a Catholic, they just tell you can't have the sacraments if you've done something egregious enough. So like you can't have your bread and wine because you cheated on your wife. They're basically telling you you're not a Catholic anymore. And there is a very formal process called excommunication where you are no longer allowed to be a Catholic.
Oh man, this reminds me of AP European history. All the excommunication.
Yep. Yeah, and even as and that's kind of where my issues with dogma and things lie today, because it doesn't seem to be the Bible that people are following blindly. It seems to be the government that people are following blindly. And when so many people, you knew we were going to get here, it only took 43 minutes, but there's such a pattern of people who from where I'm sitting, it seems like they would otherwise be lax Christians or Muslims or whatever. But the rise of atheism has pointed out some of the most glaring holes in being a theist. And so they can't cling on to that. But instead of doing what it seems the three of us have done and go on their own literal journey to atheism and find that spirituality for themselves, they've just adopted the establishment narrative as their religion. What do you guys say to that?
I mean, I don't know. There's some people who follow. I have an issue where like a lot of my friends are really into crypto, so they'll find like one random crypto influencer and take that person's word as God. I think that's just the issue that we have with the blind adherence to charismatic individuals or power structures or some sort of preceded beliefs. If people are unsure and don't have a lot of autonomy and agency of their own, they're probably going to be easily swayed to believe whatever.
This This is what I love about the critical race theory discussion. Nobody knows what critical race theory means. No one who's on these shows talking about it has any idea, and it cracks me up because you're spot on, Anirudh. It's the charisma. It is the tendency to just want to lean into somebody who seems like they know what they're talking about.
I have 2 chapters in my book about charisma. 1 about the benefits, and 2 about all the evil that it causes.
So, Ryan, I'm curious, what's the bridge between what Anirudh said and why you went to CRT specifically?
Sure. No, I mean, it is a very coordinated right-wing movement to try and demonize critical race theory. If you can tell me what critical race theory is right now, I will be very impressed.
So what is it? Is
We've
it
had
more
a conversation for hours about this?
So is it more because again, I told you we were going to get here. I am I am now well informed enough to understand that no grade school children are being taught college grad level legal theory.
Sure.
But that's not, again, when it comes down to the way that we're talking about how people use their use language, and they call themselves Christians, and yet they don't believe this, that, and that, and they don't do that, and they eat meat on Fridays, and they have tattoos, and they all that stuff. Then, okay, they're saying they're Christian, and we as atheists, we're saying, okay, well, Christians are X, Y, Z, and you're not really falling in line with that. But what they're saying is not that I fall in line with X, Y, Z. They're saying I have this amorphous belief in God as a default because I haven't really thought about it. And I call that being a Christian. And so when you take that, I mean, is that no?
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to make the connection. Are we still on critical race theory, or have we moved on?
But would we agree that people who there's a large portion of people, like we've just been talking about, who call themselves Christian,
sure, yes,
who don't actually act, believe, or behave Christian.
Sure.
So take that point and just change Christian or Catholic or whatever to CRT, and these
CRT isn't an identity.
It's not, but it is a label that the media has put on certain things. And so when you hear right-wing parents saying, I don't want CRT being taught to my children, they're not making the distinction of what technically is a Kimberly Crenshaw book, or is just inspired by it, and this. What they're saying is, I see this thing that I don't like. The media told me that it. What's that?
What thing? What is the thing they don't like?
The injection of
anti-racism.
Anti-racism. And when I say anti-racism, I don't mean being against racism. I mean anti-racism in the sense that Antifa is anti-fascist, yet they use their fascist tactics to employ their political agenda.
I'm with him on this.
I knew you would be. But the I forget the question now. What was the question?
Yeah, exactly.
This exactly. Feels like okay, how about this, Lutch? Let's do this. If we were to take some sort of broader statements, let's just take a couple of statements and let's see if you disagree with this.
So, if you don't mind, I remember where I left off.
All right, you do your thing first.
So what we're talking about is the injection of this oppressor versus oppressed mentality into places that it is not necessarily appropriate, and talking about fifth grader's math class, replacing the type of question that a train leaving north going 75 miles an hour and a train leaving south going. Instead of that, you see Johnny got stopped by the cops 5 times in March, and Daquan got stopped 7 times. Who's more oppressed?
It's not true, man.
I mean, have you? Do you believe that I'm making this up, or have you seen this and you know that it's fake?
No.
Look, can I just go on this? Look, Lutch, I know for a fact that there are some really, really bad anti-racism lessons, in the same way there are some really, really bad math lessons.
Yes,
this is just an issue with like pedagogy. There's going to be some teacher who's going to think this is a great idea when it's a really bad idea. For like a bad example or like a bad field of study for that it does not make. We've had this discussion before. There's no like statistical widespread issue of CRT causing harm to children.
Well, not yet, but something has to be in place for it to have an effect. You can't have an effect without a cause first. And
how many years?
CRT
how many years would you need to see that effect?
I don't fucking know.
What part of you thinks that CRT within the doctrine, with what it says at graduate level theory, everything that is its belief system,
which is not what the parents at the PTA meetings are talking about, because they don't know any better.
Those parents are fucking dumb. That's the issue.
Right.
Sure, but
we've
said
people
multiple times in this conversation that
doesn't mean they're wrong
important.
about what they're mad about. But yeah.
They need to articulate what they have a problem with, and it's not critical race theory.
I agree with you. That doesn't change. I agree with you. And this is a problem of the media. But the fact of the matter is that what they're objecting to is still what they object to. They're not objecting to it because
what are they objecting to?
They again, I've seen the paperwork. I've seen the
You're taking
the
examples
of
things that people have objected to.
Yes,
but there is
what else
no
am I supposed to use?
There is no unified idea that people are objecting to besides critical race theory. There is no as a group, as a whole, we as the right wing disagree with how it is being taught in classrooms. That doesn't exist. We are against critical race theory. Period.
Okay, but and again, this goes back to the people calling themselves Christian or not. If we are ready to, if you are ready to say, okay, even though you don't believe X, Y, and Z, you call yourself a Christian, okay, then you should be able to extend that. Okay, what you're talking about is not actually CRT, but because you have a problem with XYZ, then I'm willing to acknowledge that is a real grievance.
I just told you I don't believe that. I think you should be able to call yourself a Catholic if you're against Catholic.
But you were the one I was the one who pushed back against you, saying that, well, if I'm not, if anybody identifies as this, that, the other.
Sure. And I said, I agree. It's an assumed identity and I don't want to take that away from people, but it doesn't make me think they're any less of a hypocrite. Like, them calling themselves a Catholic is still a bother to me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can be wrong as a Catholic, and you can be wrthe wrong calling something CRT.
Yeah.
Right. The validity of that doesn't change.
Okay, and I agree there, but where the disconnect is, in the case of being Christian, the label of the behavior is what is being misconstrued. In the case of CRT, it's the actual content of what parents are seeing their kids see. They don't give a fuck what it's called. They don't care if it's CRT, RTS.
Wait, but they do care what it's called.
They only know it because the Fox News and whoever else has put this label on it, and people like you and so MSNBC can tell them these right wingers don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They think they're teaching grad school stuff to kids. They know they're not teaching grad school stuff to kids. That's a semantic argument.
No,
that doesn't change the fact that at Michigan State so at Michigan State they didn't have segregated lunchrooms. They didn't have white only and black only spaces.
That has nothing to do with critical race theory.
Yeah, especially the ones that's being taught in elementary school.
What are we talking
about?
But you saying that is completely missing the issue. So
no,
fine, it has nothing.
Critical race theory.
Fine, it has nothing to do with. Fine, it has nothing to do with critical race theory. Then it's your job to say that that is an issue, but that's not critical race theory. And so here's what we will do about your issue. Not you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. The fact is the lunchrooms were segregated. If the people are calling it the wrong thing, but they're saying, hey, we're bringing back racism in our fucking country, maybe we should stop that. And you're like, well, you're calling it the wrong thing, so we're just going to keep doing racism. Mm-hmm. I don't understand how that's a rational way to go about it. Who cares what it's called?
I'm not saying there's not a problem with a segregated lunchroom.
Okay.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying you should say you have a problem with a segregated lunchroom. Don't say you have a problem with critical race theory.
Okay,
but again, not connected at all.
Okay, fine, but then you have to separate the media from the.
Fan. It's okay.
You have to separate the media. I mean, whoever you are, the other side of the media is evil. Your own side of the media is evil, but they just say what you like.
Totally.
So the fact
they're both pushing agendas,
right? So the fact that let's say let's three categories. We have voters, we have media, and we have politicians.
Okay.
So The voters are taking their cues from the media, and the politicians are taking well, they should be taking their cues from the people, but more so. The point being, the fact that the people, the voters are calling what they don't like CRT, and that being wrong, doesn't change the fact that they have an issue with something that's going on, and you're not addressing that issue. All you're doing is telling them that they're wrong. And even if they are wrong in their semantic articulation of their grievance, and Jimmy Dean, I agree with you. This is a problem of the right wing that they need to understand. It's not CRT that's being taught, but that doesn't mean that what is being taught is okay. They need to stop using CRT and say, look, this whole idea of saying that black people are inherently oppressed in America, but and they can only do XYZ because the white man is doing this, that, and the other.
Says that.
Dude, I mean, I've seen the shit. I've read it. I've looked at it. I've heard it. I mean, I don't know what, this notion of denying examples and when we're talking about a new phenomenon, talking about Anirudh asking for studies and this and that, and this is something that we're only seeing in the last few years, and that parents are only becoming aware of because of the fact that their kids were at home during the lockdown. So where would you like this information to come from?
I look at it completely differently, dude. I look at parents going to
PM listening.
Parents going to a school board meeting and having heard on the news that they hate critical race theory. I don't think they have any idea what's being taught in their kids' classrooms.
So
and I think, let me finish. I think that when you see on the news that there was a horrible thing like segregated lunchrooms, that sort of thing, it is horrible. I don't disagree. That's something that should be addressed. But at the end of the day, I think the vast majority of people are not that complex in their knowledge of what they're talking about.
So you think people are going to their own local school board because of what they saw on the news and not because of what they saw on their child's book bag?
I was watching a video of
hold on.
in Virginia about critical race theory. Go ahead, finish. That's all I gotta say. I want to remember that.
Because that was a real short yes or no question.
Sure. So I was watching wait, you asked me yes or no question? Sorry, I don't want to miss it. What was the question?
Yes. So do you think the people who are going and complaining at these PTA meetings are doing so because of the news and not because of what they are seeing in their child's book bag, in their child's workbook, in their whatever?
Not in every case. I think it's a huge part of it that it's being built up in the media as something that is horrific. And then I think they go into their kid's book bag and they see, all right, this is a lesson on slavery. I don't want my kid learning about that. I don't think they have the nuance to say, my kid is being taught that black people are oppressed. I think this is all parroting, all of it.
Yeah. I once had a textbook, and I'm in Texas, by the way, in Texas history, where it expressly stated that slavery was not a major cause of the Civil War, something which is ahistorical.
I don't know what the fuck they teach in Texas, but here in the Northeast, 30 fucking years ago, they were teaching all about Jim Crow, all about slavery, all about.
It doesn't end there, though.
I understand that, but my point is that the
critical race theory is the extension of those lessons.
Okay,
about Jim Crow.
And who are they for?
They're for me and you. They're for everyone.
Okay,
they're to say that,
but they're not really appropriate for children, right?
They're 100% appropriate for children.
They are necessary for children.
You need to learn about race immediately from birth.
You said it, but you said it goes beyond that. So I'm saying, where do we need to teach children we need to teach black children that they are inherently worse than white people in this country?
No one says that.
Yeah,
no one's talking about critical race theory saying that.
No,
the parents who are at these fucking meetings are saying that their kids are saying that.
All right, how about this? Let's just take the individual claims of these parents. One common thread is that the parents are saying their kids are taught to hate America and that America is a racist country. Mm-hmm. Let's just take that one lesson. Lutch, do you think is that a bad idea? Is a bad lesson to teach that America has a massive issue with racism that still exists, and that America is not a perfect country, and that American exceptionalism is a bullshit ideology that should not be taught in schools, right? Would you agree with that?
No, just because of the last part, but because
I
think having pride for your own for your own community is a good thing. So, but the rest of it, that, you know, teaching that America wasn't perfect, that we had racist past, all that stuff. Yes, I absolutely 100% believe that that's important for kids to know.
All right, so parents have that issue that their kids are taught that America is an inherently
So
racist
you're
country.
saying that you think these parents who themselves went to school and learned about these types of things are now,
unless they're in Texas.
I mean, I guess, all right, unless, I mean, fair enough. I guess I don't know about what they teach in Texas. I don't know what they teach anywhere really, but New Jersey. But
There's a theme, Lutch, for where people are upset about critical race theory. Is there not? In what states? In Texas, in Virginia, in places where the education has never taught people about racism in America. It's not
Florida.
that they had the education themselves and denounced the idea that racism happened in America. It's that they truly believe from propagandist history classes that America does not have a problem and never did. Slavery happened, boo-hoo, get over it. That was a long time ago. That is legit.
I don't think that's, I don't believe that is the position that anybody takes. I think it's so obvious that using the, and when I say anyone, we're talking, you know, obviously there's fucking fringe people that are going to believe anything, but any reasonable person,
no one's reasonable.
Okay, Lutch, we are not in a country with reasonable people. We are not.
Relatively reasonable. Can we
no,
get, I mean,
54% of the country is at a 6th grade reading level or below. We live in a
I know a lot of fucking smart people that don't know how to read. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, humor me. People that you would consider having this conversation with.
There are very few. I respect both of you a lot, and I know that at the end of this, no matter how fired up we get, we're going to be okay. So, like, it's not something I talk about with everyone.
Okay, and I agree with you, but again, I feel like that's more of a societal thing than anything to do with an individual's capability. And I think that the pattern of toxifying certain words, certain ideas has led to us not being able to have the types of conversations, and people, just an entire generation, if not more, of people who have never battled with ideas like this.
Okay, I think that there are some ideas that are very difficult to wrap your head around, and they're going to be very difficult. Lutch, I'm pretty sure you've seen like the headlines of like critical race theory says math is racist or something. I feel like you would have seen something like that. Math is racist.
Yeah,
there are articles about that.
Yeah,
of course.
So
because 2 + 2 = 5, bro.
Yeah, if you run with the headlines, you'll be like, "Oh my god, we think that we can't teach Black people math; that they're worse at math, and that we need to change our curriculum." I mean, if you actually ever read any of the papers and their implications, what they're saying is that there are systemic biases within schools for how we treat higher level or accelerated math. So one of the issues that we see with children,
sorry, can you say that one more time?
The issues with how schools, I guess, teach and treat children who may or may not need higher level accelerated math courses.
Speaking purely on ability. So he's saying, let's say you have a student who is exceptional at math, like the best student at math you've ever seen. The opportunities at one school is different for them compared to what they get at another. I believe that's what
I'll take it a step further. So one of the things that we know is that children, if they're struggling in math classes, there are usually 2 options. 1, the class is moving too fast for them and they're not able to keep up. Or 2, the slightly rare scenario, is that they're getting bored because they are so far ahead in math that they're just not putting effort. They're not engaged. And this is especially an issue for boys. They tend to have this issue way more than girls do. So in an understanding of race, our understanding for like math capacity, we found rampant discrimination in the level of children pushed forward for accelerated math courses. For white kids, it was like 38% of young boys who were having issue with math being pushed forward, whereas for Black kids, it was less than 10%. And that was because of preconceived notions for how we structure mathematics courses. This was in both mixed race and segregated schools. And a lot of our pedagogy for how we discuss math or mathematical achievement is either caused by implicit or explicit bias against race. So when we say that and the analogies that we use for math questions, those bullshit word problems, our ability to engage children, our understanding of how we teach math, it has a racialized component in that our race blind policies, ignoring the fact that there's a lot of implicit racism in the instruction of math that is causing disparate racial outcomes in math education. And that's a very difficult and nuanced conversation to have. Unfortunately, people in the media, like even The Atlantic, a publication I respect, runs a bullshit headline of math is racist. And that's muddying the water when the actual conversation is way more nuanced. So going off what Ryan said, it's very difficult to have these conversations because most people don't want to listen, and most people don't really have the patience to grapple with these complicated ideas.
And it's nuanced because race is not the reason, it is the consequence. It is that communities of color, their schools are chronically underfunded because it's all about property taxes. It's about who lives in the area, and that's how schools get funded. It's not that Black people are worse at math, and that's the headline that is running, that's what we're trying to teach kids. It's that the statistics say, as Anirudh is citing, that Black students are not being challenged and not being given the same opportunity as white students. That is critical race theory.
I mean, I mean, I don't know enough about critical race theory to even say that I could, contest anything that you're saying. I definitely understand the notion that you're bringing up, but I still think, and that's all well and good. I personally don't disagree with any of it. So maybe there are people who are saying, "Oh, there's no such thing as racism." Blah, 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 blah. I can't speak for those people, but the notion of why do I even if it's the case that people can't don't have the desire, the time, the whatever reason, they don't look into things, and they see this Atlantic article that math is racist, and now they're determining that this is that because of that whatever. Then I don't understand why you can't see that therein lies the issue and not the underinformed parent who has an issue with the same things that you would have an issue with, but are just calling it what they heard it being called on the news.
Sure.
Lutch, I believe that that if you are going to be advocating in politics or whatever, you have a responsibility to educate yourself. These parents
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. But as we've talked about before, this is America. So, I mean,
for better or worse.
The reason why I say these parents' beliefs can be disregarded, I just wish they didn't vote either, is because they are irresponsible. I mean, they're not responsible people. I mean, we should probably change our messaging, and The Atlantic should probably start making headlines to sell. But unfortunately, one of the issues of capitalism is we sell people the bullshit they want to see, the bullshit they want to hear, and people have emotional, irrational, stupid reactions. This Atlantic headline, they actually changed the headline after backlash, but this was the same article.
Hold on 1 second. I just zoomed in on the wrong screen. All right. There we go. All right.
Yeah. So I guess, The Atlantic could be more responsible in their initial publication to not have a terrible, terrible headline. But unfortunately, we live in a country where people are voters, and one of the requirements to be an American, or one of the expectations of being an American, is that you're civically engaged and that you're informed on the issues. Unfortunately, many people fail that. I don't really know what to do other than disregard the people who are too stupid to advocate on their own behalf. Like, what else do we do?
I mean, like, help them understand why can't you provide this explanation to these people if they are not the ones who are putting out this type of stuff, if they are not the ones who are trying to be bigoted or prejudiced in any way. All they're trying to do is have their child learn the history of this country without it being personalized to them, whether they're white or black or other. Why can't we
just before, people are willfully ignorant. A lot of people just don't give a shit. They don't want to learn. I mean, there's not much we can do. If there was even an ounce of wanting to learn, you could just go to Wikipedia and you could probably get a better understanding than 99% of these parents at school boards. Just read a Wikipedia article. They're decently sourced. You can get a lot of basic information. A lot of these issues could be fixed. That is a 2-second aspect. The issue is either they're too lazy or they're willfully ignorant, and you can't really do anything about that. I make video essays. I talk about economics. I do that stuff, breaking down complicated things.
I'll link this in the description.
But people have to take the responsibility to go watch and click on it and watch it and understand it, which people are not going to do.
That is all. That may all be true at the same time that people are upset, and it's the politicians. It's a politician's job to cater to those grievances.
That is unfortunately the case. That is true.
So
and they don't.
and exactly. So instead of being mad at the people who are misinformed, as if it's only one side of the aisle that is underinformed in that way, why is the ire not pointed towards those who are causing the issue?
Yeah.
I'm upset with Fox News, but they have a lot of wealth, power, and money, and an audience. I can't fight Fox News.
Why not?
I mean, I am a broke college student. They're a multi-billion-dollar organization.
I post constantly about my beliefs. Like, I'm not shy about what I believe generally. And sometimes it's a stupid, shitty meme. But, like, if anyone wants to have a conversation with me, that I'm at least giving them the opportunity to start it. And it's not that I don't think... It's not that I think I'm right on everything. But at the same time, I have my beliefs, and I have a lot of information that I use to back those beliefs up. I don't just come to a party having watched Fox News and try and say that I hate critical race theory because I've read what critical race theory is. I feel the same way about Marxism, and I know that neither of you are on board with me on this. But if you want to decry what goes on in Marxism, you better have read some Marx, because if you have not, it's just, you're not informed. I agree with Anirudh completely. And the onus is on you as an individual to do your research, because the information is out there. There was a great John Oliver set the other day that was about critical race theory. And it's media, it's biased, sure, but it presents a different aspect of things. I'm not saying, like, I don't know what I'm saying. I give up.
I hear you, and I'm just gonna step in. And Jimmy Dean, that is that's very true, but that says way more about CNN than it does. About Tim
Also,
Pool.
we've had this conversation before, back with Blaine Pardoe. The ability to become popular is not the same as the ability to be right.
Right.
Totally.
Tim Pool is a master of one of them, exactly one of them.
Lutch will disagree with me, but that's how I feel about Ben Shapiro too.
I agree. I actually agree about Ben Shapiro. I think I don't see the big deal about
Ben Shapiro.
Ben
is
Shapiro.
is a genius at,
of course, he
at
is.
misinformation. He's so smart.
Yeah.
He can say stuff that the amount of like lies per second that he has perfected, I don't think very few people can reach that. Though, of course, when he debates educated people instead of dipshit college students, he gets roasted. But he's very good at building those talking points in a fast, snappy way, in a way that would just appeal to the sensibilities of lonely young men.
So
and
this brings
yes.
Yeah. So this brings us to, where is the difference between people who are wrong about religion and being that militant atheist, and people who are wrong about politics and being a militant leftist, or whatever the fuck you want to call yourself?
Yeah, so I think the big thing is the rejection of dogma. So actually, off of what Ryan said, I have read Marx, I've read Kropotkin, I've read a couple of communist theory. Actually, reading The Conquest of Bread is what decided, yeah, I'm not a socialist. This is kind of bullshit. But it always has to do with the rejection of ideology. Militant atheists do have an ideology. Their ideology is religion bad. If you're like a leftist and you just think, oh my God, this is bad, then yeah, an ideological drive is going to be an issue because there's dogma centered around it. I like an empirical, rational understanding of the world that's based on data, mathematics, science, empirical reasoning, not based off of common sense, intuition, or feelings or dogma. So I guess if you think like me, yeah, we could remove some of that. I don't think everyone should think like me. We'd probably be very bored and not be able to play good music if we did. But again, this is just a matter of taking the minimum effort to educate yourself on empirical reality. There are things that are measurable. We have like basic statistical tests to figure out, are these claims true or are they not?
Right. Well, we can.
It's so simple.
Again,
but people refuse to do it.
And but the same is true, if not more so, about religion.
Sure.
So again, I'm not asking where you stand. I'm asking, why do you have a different view of people who think that?
I think, Lutch, so it's the same idea as the school board meeting. You should be able to, if you come with a claim, I expect you to be able to support it. And if you come and you say, okay, this is my kid's homework and this is the exact problem I have with it, you're in the right. I agree with you 100%.
But that's what a lot of people are doing.
No. They're showing up and saying, I have a problem with critical race theory.
No, that's what the reports are saying. That's what the New York Times is saying. It's saying there's a bunch of people complaining about CRT.
Go watch some of the school board meetings.
I have, and I'm sure you've seen the ones where people are quoting CRT, and I'm seeing the ones where people are actually saying, I don't know what the fuck you call this. I just don't want my child learning this. I'm sure that that the algorithms have made it so that we are seeing exactly what we want to see. But the fact of the matter is that the people that you are talking about, I agree with you, exist and are wrong. And the people that I am talking about also exist, but you can't say, okay, maybe those people also exist, and those people are right, because you just said if you come to it, it has nothing to do, especially if what is being taught is not critical race theory, and you have one piece of paper. And it says whatever the fuck it says. It says black people are inherently oppressed, and white people are inherently more privileged, and this, that, the other.
That is true in our country.
Whatever. And these people say, "This is what I don't want."
Do they have that right?
Then
do they have that right?
Absolutely, they do.
And for you to say,
hold on. For you to say that what they are doing is parroting the news is facetious and intellectually dishonest.
I disagree, man.
Wait, I think they're definitely parroting the news because like it's easy.
Okay, what about the ones who aren't saying CRT? As I just laid out. I'm sure there are people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and they go and they are fresh off of Tucker Carlson and are talking some bullshit. Fine. I'm sure there are people like that. I'm not talking about those people.
So I think that we should evaluate this based on the damage it does to the world. Like it's largely irrelevant what people believe. It matters way more what people actually do. So if someone
what people believe informs what people do, which is why I'm an anti-theist, because beliefs are inseparable from actions.
Well, I mean, it's two things, right? You could believe something, but if you never act on it, then that belief is relatively tame and something we can deal with later.
I guess, but you're still walking around the world with that belief, and if it's a bad belief, then I mean that's only marginally better. I mean, yeah, I guess it's better if you wanna be a pedo and you're just in your mind attracted to children. Yes, of course that's better than hurting a child. But that's not a feather in your fucking cap.
No, but the solution going forward this is why I'm an anti-populist. People will always have bad beliefs. That's something you can't fix. Don't let people with bad beliefs come into power. Have systems that weed them out.
Well, that opens up an entirely different conversation about what is a bad belief.
Sure. I think beliefs that are not based on empirical reality.
Okay, but when it comes to culture and values and things like that, you can look at the same verifiable facts and come to a different conclusion. If you have kids, you can look at the same information and say, okay, because I have kids, this information means whatever for my kids, and if I don't have kids, then it means something different to me. So we're again. As we've come to at every single time you and I have spoken, it's not about the numbers. It's about what goes beyond that. It seems like it didn't connect, so I'll try that one more time. There are empirical realities that people can agree upon, and still come to different conclusions about what behaviors should be done, or what actions, or what laws, or what.
All right, so if the difference between descriptive and prescriptive statements, yeah, I guess that's fine. We could see the same set of data, and we could have different conclusions or different actions and course of actions. That's fine. That's a civil discussion that we can have. But we have the issue of people who do not agree on these same descriptive facts, who don't have that empirical understanding of reality, right? These are people who are fundamentally irrational.
Exactly.
That's what these parents
so
are.
You're fine with these people as these irrational people, as long as their irrationality has to do with religion, and you'll sit back.
Wait, I'm not okay with it, but there's nothing I can do. I can't fix irrational people. If there was a way to do it, I would be fucking doing it. There isn't a way to do that. We just have to accept that and make sure that they don't have power.
I mean, I don't feel like that's intellectually honest, having been personally called a bioterrorist by you, without you have even asking, my whether I had allergies or anything like that. And
that was a mistake I made. I acknowledge that.
But and I don't hold it against you because personally, because I'll hold it over your head. Sure, shit, I will. But I don't hold it against you personally because I know that it wasn't malicious. But the point is, when Dr. Evil Genius was making the point of, when I was talking to him about black people just getting another job, the man got very emotional and very upset. And it's not because he thought I was being bigoted or anything. It was because I wasn't. And the fact that I would say something and think that it was so kosher, to him, was the most upsetting part. And so I continue to bring that point up about you calling me that for not getting the jab, because you just so willingly will call somebody that you, I mean, I don't know if you would call us friends, but we've spoken for, not face to face, but as close as we can do in this era, for over 10 hours at the point that you'd done that. And it didn't come across as anything to you. And so it comes back to this idea of, okay, how are we treating the people that we see as irrational in this vein versus how are we treating people that we view as irrational in this vein? And so we can say that religious people are irrational, but they're just, you can't get through to them. They believe what they believe, and this, that, and the other.
Look, for the most part, I think a lot of people's irrational beliefs are tied to the material condition. People are very stressed. People who are dealing with a lot of issues in their life, they're more likely to believe irrational things, which is why people flock to religion after a major tragedy or suffering in their life. I would love to try to improve the material conditions of people. That's the number one thing that I care about. So effectively, is that a way to reduce the level of emotional attachment to different situations? Maybe. That would be my long-term goal. But in terms of like actually dealing with people who said things like, for example, in my conversation with you, I carried myself terribly. I regret that. I've apologized.
I don't think you did. There was a moment of there was a moment there, but
no, but that's unbecoming of a person who wishes to be rational and tries to make the discussions. It was a learning moment. I'm trying to get better about that. And again, I apologize for that. But again, there are two different types of things where a person will acknowledge that, okay, that was an irrational moment. We're not fundamentally rational creatures. If we acknowledge, okay, we've made a mistake, we can try to start thinking about this in an analytical way. That's a much better framework. Most people aren't there. And the fact is, there are crazy people who believe in communism. There are crazy people who believe
that's exactly where I was going. Yep.
Jesus Christ. The way that we fix this is just making sure that the craziest people don't have power, which is like why we have things like the establishment media. I would say this: the establishment media is better than alternative media because they're much better at weeding out misinformation. And alternative media, I'm pretty sure, has a much higher propensity for spreading false and misinformation. And the mainstream media, while it sucks, is definitely easier to hold accountable.
Let's get into that a little bit, because we really want to. I mean, you're saying CNN is the best news source out there?
Oh, no, it's not the best news source, but it's better than most of the alternatives.
Let's talk. And
I disagree. I hate CNN.
Yeah, let's get into this, because
actually, I will say Fox News, the articles are better than most independent left.
Right. So let's get into what exactly we're saying here, because I think TV news of any sort is garbage and is based on the charisma thing that we were talking about.
Punditry is terrible.
TV. I think the
and also op-eds. We can kick those out as well.
Yeah, but I mean, I would argue that those are almost not as bad because they are labeled to be op-eds. I would say things that are labeled to be factual news that are that are actually op-eds. That's much worse. Jimmy will come back to that one. But the when it comes to just saying alternative or independent news sources, the fact that they are independent and it's the fact that they are independent inherently makes them not you can't describe them as and lump them in with any other
yes,
source.
I can. Very easily.
Not because of the fact that they're independent.
So whether it's news sources independent or corporate and establishment, they'll still have the same issues within capitalism, which is getting readers' attention.
I don't disagree, but again, very specific wording. Because of just like when people try to say that atheism is bad because of Stalin. Stalin may have been an atheist. Was it Stalin or Mussolini? What you know what I mean?
Mussolini was Catholic. He had to be.
So Stalin. So the fact that Stalin was an atheist. He did not. He was not a terrible dictator because of his atheism. He was a terrible dictator, and he happened to be an atheist. So, for an independent journalist, pundit, whatever you want to say, they are independent, and they stand on their own merit.
No, them being independent is the issue. So, I'll give you a great example. If you're going to try to appeal to the sensibilities of your audience, you'll say whatever it takes to get popular. Corporate agencies have advertisers.
Some won't.
And those advertisers are incredibly important because while they would definitely shift the conversation on things like pharmaceuticals, they also make it so that people can't go batshit crazy and just lie. For example, OAN had to recount things that they said on air. So did Fox News about, believe, what was that company that was making the ballot counting machines? I forgot the name of it. Dominion, yes. Dominion ballot, because they were under
Must
lawsuit.
Be nice to be held accountable. CNN could just say shit.
And, so you can hold corporate news accountable. You can
not CNN. They're just always right. And if you're,
slap lawsuits exist. So corporate entities.
Do you know how hard it is to get a slap?
Pretty easy. If you have finances for it, like a corporation does.
No, if you're a public person, which is the majority of what we're talking about, politicians, pundits, this, that, and the other, slap is these slap laws, any kind of slander, libel is virtually impossible. And so these corporate, but I don't disagree. But the fact of the matter is that these conglomerate news sources are abusing those laws and are,
yeah, they definitely will. But for example, Fox News's actual articles that they write on their website, they don't claim that the election was stolen, but members of their op-ed crew, their TV shows, they would say that. So Fox News can be held accountable in a way that some random people that I like I don't know, Destiny or Vosh or random streamers or even ones that I hate like Hassan Piker, they can say bullshit and they can't be held as accountable. There.
Right, but they also don't have the inherent push of whatever they say. And then when you go on TV and say, if you get this vaccination, the virus stops with you. It cannot continue, as Rachel Maddow did to the entire nation, then she's just allowed to say that. And
they're allowed
when
to
that's
say
not
the same
true.
Thing.
Right, but they don't have the backing of being the establishment, of being the ones that are on TV. So when some just random guy says it, then the merit of what he says or what he says stands on the merit of what he said. Whereas on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, any of these, what they say stands on the merit of, well, we're the guys.
Yeah, and do you believe that merit is earned?
It was. It seemed to have been.
This is the dawn of cable news, guys. The news was all right pre-cable news, and now the news is about being entertained, not about obtaining facts. And so you want to have people on to debate each side of the issue, whatever. And people take that as fact because
Boom,
it's on the
baby.
news. But the news does not report facts for cable news at all.
Well,
That's not the goal.
The news has never been perfect at reporting facts.
Sure.
It never will be. But the issue
Nobody's
is
saying that.
it's not the issue
So,
of what is
again,
good. It's
okay,
about what's
but-
less bad.
So let's go back to my original, the original thing I said was that we have an understanding of the establishment news sources, and whatever you think of them, that's what you think of them. By the very nature of being an independent news source, you are independent from every other news source.
No.
And
Say whatever you want.
Right. You may, after that fact, you may align yourself with this narrative, that narrative. You may do this, but the fact of being independent cannot be damning.
Oh, it definitely
Because
is.
why?
It can.
So it means that you are not held accountable, and oftentimes
that doesn't mean anything.
No, it
That's
means that you
still-
don't have to
no.
disclose positions.
Okay,
So, for
that-
example, people
nope,
like
nope,
Aaron Mate,
nope. But
Glenn
hold on.
Greenwald, they have
Let him
ties to
finish,
Russia
Lutch.
today. The media apparatus of Russian state media, and whether or not they take cues, that's entirely kind of up to speculation. But the fact is, them parroting the same talking points and getting funding either by being on these as media contributors.
But that's
kickbacks.
that's the issue then, not them being independent.
No,
I'm
being
getting
independent puts you in that position.
okay. That's okay. But being independent doesn't necessarily put you in the position to go down that road. That's
Being
the point I'm
independent means
making.
You will have to go down that road.
No, it doesn't. So there's there's absolutely zero news sources that are not corporate that have any shred of credibility. Is that what you're telling me?
News sources, no. The only places that you could probably trust are academic journals, and even there's always you have to be vigilant to make sure that there are no maligned incentives for studies that are either funded by corporations or have faulty science.
And we're better off with CNN on TV.
We are better off with CNN than Tim Pool or any random bullshit lefty streamer. I will say that.
All right.
We're not in a good
man.
place, but we're in a less bad place.
I mean, like, what? Okay, let's do this. Let's go down this road because I think this is one that we all, we don't need studies, and we're all equally qualified to speak on. Joe motherfucking Rogan. You're gonna tell me that CNN was a qualified source on the goings-on of Joe Rogan's Rona experience?
Why not?
Yeah, I'm confused by the question.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are that deep in. So you know that the ivermectin that he took was not like from
no, wait, I know.
Store
Lutch,
that like he got
Joe
it from
Rogan
a
was my
doctor.
number one listen to
and
podcast
that-
in 2021.
I'm not saying they reported it correctly. I'm not
Okay.
saying that they're infallible in their reporting.
No,
but
no,
I
no,
mean,
no. But you're saying that they are inoculated against this level of deception because of their advertisers, this, that, and the
No,
other.
oh God, no. I'm not saying that. at all.
Anirudh,
Wait, no.
that is the message that I got from what
No,
you said.
no. They are not perfect. They are just less bad.
I think they're more corrupt because of the advertising and the fact that they have
I would
influence
agree.
coming from every direction. That said, I don't think it necessarily means everything they say is wrong either, or that they don't have a right to report about things.
Okay, but you don't. So what? Like, it's just like I don't understand how you could talk about this channel that like even
I
Tim
hate
Pool, who's
CNN. I hate CNN.
right, but even Tim Pool, who I get is he's got strong opinions, and if you don't agree with him, then he probably sounds crazy to you. I get that, but like.
Even when he says things that are true, he
Okay,
sounds
fine.
crazy.
I don't care but the fact that they fucking put a yellow filter on Joe Rogan's face and then said that he ate horse medicine when that was like so obviously not true, and the
That's
guy
not
has
the
a bigger
argument.
platform than they did. So I don't understand how they like what exactly was in place that you're talking about that inoculated us from that bad information than from some other source that would try to do the same thing.
Well,
which I have not seen from anybody who I respect and follow, including Tim Pool.
So, okay, CNN messed up, did a terrible story. It was a hit piece. They probably were jealous of Joe Rogan. They want to prevent him from rising. This was an easy target.
Right.
Yeah, that's
yes.
CNN publishes
but you trust them
hundreds
anyway
of thousands
because
of segments and articles. If they mess up in a couple of places, yeah, that's
this has
terrible.
been going. Dude, he's still in the fucking news. It's he got thrown out like in the over the winter. It's almost March. And he's still in the news.
Talking
for
about
for the horse for ivermectin. Is that what he's in the news for?
Honey, sweetie baby.
Quick time out.
Honey,
Quick
sweetie
time out.
baby. What did you
Brief.
just say? Why did you say that CNN did what they did? Because they were jealous.
That I have no way of substantiating. That's just my hunch.
It's just a hunch that the biggest news corporation in the world would be jealous of some guy just getting on his podcast, getting I think it's like 25 times the views or some shit like that. The fact is, the hit piece that you talk about is ongoing, and the fact that you say though all of the people who are not doing hit pieces on anybody but are just trying to put out news, right, wrong, or otherwise. They're not as good as the people who are specifically trying to take down somebody sheerly out of jealousy.
Can I jump in just
Please.
Very briefly?
I gotta pee.
The issue is that Joe Rogan is CNN CRT, and bear with me on that.
All right.
Everyone has their agenda to demonize the other side. And not everything Joe Rogan has ever said is wrong, but he is a very easy target for CNN to demonize an entire section of the population that listens to his podcast because he says some stupid, seriously fucked up things sometimes, including racist things and including misinformation about COVID. Those things are both true, period. The issue is that Lutch, you cling to things that Joe Rogan has said that are worthwhile, and other people cling to the things that Joe Rogan has said that are not worthwhile. So at the end of the day, you've got some place like CNN who has their agenda, and so they report on Joe Rogan because people watch it, and they're being paid by how many people watch their shit. Fox News talks about critical race theory because they can whip people into a frenzy, and people watch. That is the only reason they report things the way they do. It is not about CNN being truthful about Joe Rogan.
Right.
That is
so.
not...
Ryan, let me ask you this then, because
sure,
it's you said you agree that the advertisement model makes it worse.
100%.
So would it not follow that those who stand more to gain or lose monetarily have a bigger incentive to do whatever it takes to get that money?
Yes.
So by that lot, so if you are in the behind the question is that if you are an independent, let not even take Tim Pool because he's relatively large and bigger than bigger than CNN, but let's say some average person. And let's just for the sake of argument assume that there's one person in the entire country that actually would make a YouTube channel because they genuinely care about trying to, reading all the news and disseminating the real information. Just for the sake of argument. Let's just say there's one of them.
Lutch, I'm not saying those people don't exist.
No, Anirudh is.
He's not either.
No, I'm not saying they don't exist.
No, you said because they're independent, they're worse than CNN. That's what you said.
I think what he's saying is that they have the opportunity to be more egregious.
The opportunity. Yes, I agree with that.
They have the opportunity to be more egregious in their reporting and say more sensational things. He is 100% correct that CNN technically has more oversight and more...
You don't want to say it, but accountability.
Yeah. It's not the right word though. It's not the right word. I mean,
you know what this sounds like? It sounds like Christians being like, well, if you don't believe in God, then why don't you just go out and kill and rape people all the time?
I don't
Just
think
because
it
you
sounds
you
like
are
that.
just because you are provided the right by not having a God who's going to send you to hell for doing XYZ doesn't mean I'm going to do XYZ. And so just because I am afforded
Lutch,
the
keep
right
it on
of
the news. I have no idea what you're saying. I'm
it's
sorry.
okay, I will slow it down for you.
Please, yeah, I don't get it.
Okay. So I don't want to say the R
So,
word. So
can I steelman your position here? So you're saying that because those restraints don't exist on independent media, that the corporations will pull out, that they'll get sued, that because they don't have those restraints, independent media has the opportunity to is not going to intrinsically go after the most malicious news source and try to
yes.
gain information. No,
Yes.
I think that's that's a fair critique. I don't
Okay.
think that all independent media is going to be malicious. There are some good faith actors. The issue is the good faith actors are never the ones who are going to grow. And
Right. Yeah.
to grow,
disagree
the
even on
allure
that.
of growing is going to cause some people to say stupid things. So, for example, one of my favorite YouTube channels is Unlearning Economics, where they talk about the misinformation that we have within the economics fields, about how there's a bias against post-Keynesian and post-Keynesian thought and Marxist thought. And then he released some really good videos about the British railway system, privatization, and then he released absolute terrible videos on rent control and minimum wage policy that were so blatantly untrue that you would have to be an idiot to misread these studies that he's misreading. And he's allegedly a graduate student, right? This is a person who looks like he's doing the right thing, but what he's doing is just misrepresenting studies that he claims and is using that as a tool to spread misinformation because that's what is very popular to hear. Now, if I were to be good faith and just say, okay, he's too stupid to be a grad student in economics, possibly. But it seems like the allure of getting either the Patreon backing, the Substack backing, or whatever to appeal to some sort of audience, you're going to say stupid things, and you're going to be at best comparable to mainstream media like CNN, but most likely always be slightly worse than them.
Lutch, I'm sorry, I just got to say one thing. I think there's a difference in what you're both describing. So, Lutch,
Yeah.
I think you're saying that you think there is room for independent news sources to be considerably better than CNN and Fox, correct?
Yes. The
Okay.
possibility.
And
Not inherently,
Anirudh,
but the possibility.
Anirudh,
Yeah.
you're saying that there is less breadth for traditional mainstream media to be sensational in the sense that there are legal things in place that can stop them from going past a certain point. Still correct?
Yes.
So those are two different issues.
Right. And I don't disagree with the point that you're making, Anirudh.
It's not that one of the two forms, independent or mainstream, is inherently better than the other. It's that you need to question every news source you're interacting with.
And that's exactly where I was going with where I was going to go with that point. And when you're Anirudh, when you're watching this Unlearning Economics channel, the idea is that you, as a smart, well-read individual, should be able to see that, okay, Unlearning Economics is a good channel. They have great information and da-da-da-da-da-da. This one video, though, I know better, and they did this wrong.
A couple of videos.
They did this wrong. So I don't agree with those. But by and large, they're better than the people who are being grifters, who are actively trying to do the thing that you're talking about.
I see where you're going, Lutch. You're going back to religion right now. I see it.
I'm actually not.
Okay, I totally thought you were.
My point is that you are deeming that everyone in the nation is not capable of discerning that somebody they like may say something that they disagree with.
Me? Yeah. I mean,
I agree
wish
with that
it
sentence.
weren't the case.
I agree with that sentence, Lutch.
But
I mean, which is fair enough as long as you're willing to apply it to yourself equally.
That I am fallible?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm definitely fallible.
Yeah,
I've definitely.
100%.
It doesn't, and I mean, to be honest, Anirudh, this is more aimed at you, but it applies to both. It really doesn't seem like when it comes to the political sphere that you feel that is the case. You come in very authoritative in areas of culture and in areas of culture where there's not a right and wrong answer, and you act as if your position is the right one.
Wait, so Lutch, would you like me to give places where I have completely changed my mind based on overwhelming information? I can give you a bunch.
Not
right?
really. I don't really. I mean, I don't deny that you can do it. I'm just saying that I don't believe that you are.
I disagree, Lutch. I disagree. I think Anirudh comes in with a well-informed position most of the time. And I don't
most of the time.
necessarily
Most of the time.
think that means he's right in all cases, but he's at least comes in with an informed enough position to be able to tell
I don't disagree with that by any means. And I've recently learned not to say that anybody is well-read or articulate because apparently that's racist.
It can be, yeah.
Saying it to a brown man, yes, it is.
It can be.
Well,
it
so
implies that you expect them not to be, Lutch.
yeah.
Or maybe it just means that
It's more ageism on his case because I'm 21 and he thinks I'm an idiot for being young.
Actually, I didn't even know that you were 21, and so that should be. Why isn't that a compliment? I don't understand why that's not a compliment. If I didn't know that you were your age,
extend the sentence. So,
if I didn't know I didn't know how old he was.
You're incredibly articulate for what?
For a person.
For a person, period.
Yes, that's what the fucking sentence means. If I was saying for a this, then I would say for a this. You're incredibly intelligent for.
You should. You should say you're a really intelligent person. You're a really articulate person. Because
I do say that. I do say that, and apparently that's offensive.
If you just say to someone, "Hey, you're really articulate," there's a lot unsaid there, and sometimes what is unsaid.
Apparently, the fact that you're a person. Apparently, the fact that it needs to be spelled out that you're a person, unless the other person is racist.
No. So if you have to have, it's like in writing, in formal writing. If you say this is really great, that's a bad sentence. That's a bad sentence. Are you
white-splaining to me right now?
Totally. It's because.
Are you trying to tell me? I've been told.
It doesn't tell you what this is. You need to qualify things. So, for instance,
do I though?
If you're saying, okay, you're really articulate, he can assume what he wants from that statement.
He can, and
that's not on him. It's not on him. It's on you for not expressing your intent better.
Nope, I disagree. Sorry, that's good. That's a hard line. That's a hard stop.
You have to accept the consequences of what comes out of your mouth.
I am very deliberate with and if I say something that's wrong, then if the words that are wrong, then by all means. But if you interpret something that I did not say out of something that I said, that is your fucking issue.
Intention is different than impact, my friend.
Yeah,
intention is one thing.
I agree with you, and I don't give a shit.
Intention is one thing, and
I agree with you, and I don't give a shit.
So then that would just belay
if I'm trying to give you a compliment, and you decide that it's a bigoted statement, there's nothing I can do about that.
Okay, so you should be able to walk up to a woman on the street and say, "Hey, baby, your ass looks nice." That's a compliment.
That I don't. That's not an analogy.
Your intention might be, it's to give a compliment. I think she has a nice ass.
Yeah. So, Lutch,
but the impact is what matters.
Yeah. So he's basically making the claim that he doesn't need to be emotionally intelligent. That's a statement that you don't need to care about how your words are perceived.
I don't say I don't need to care. I just I believe that specific example is something that is something that I've been told many times over my life, and every single time I've taken it as a compliment. And you and Dr. Evil Genius are trying to tell me that people have been insulting me all of my life when they've been acknowledging the things that I know about myself that are good and true.
So
I know I'm well spoken. I know I'm well articulate. I know I'm smart. I know these things.
It can be a racist and a compliment. Those are not mutually exclusive things.
Okay, but it's my choice whether to take someone's words and interpret them. It's my choice how I interpret them. So if you choose to interpret them negatively, there's nothing I can do about that, except inoculate myself by using your specific verbiage that aligns with your ideology that you say is right.
So
Like,
let me tell you.
it's equivalent of just saying, okay, if a person likes to be treated this way, or there are certain things that they don't want to talk about, there's certain ways that they want to be talked to, just acknowledging and respecting that. It's not like some major battle.
No,
It's not
after
like
the
some
fact,
monster.
of course not. After the fact, of course not. If someone, I will never in my life tell Jarshan or Dr. Evil Genius that I think they're well spoken. I think they are. Has nothing to do with their race.
Lutch.
But I will never say that to them because they've told me that that's how they interpret that. And I'm not trying to offend anybody, so I'm not doing that. But
Totally.
that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about on a balance of just speaking generally to someone that you don't know. And for you, not you personally, but you, the general you, to decide automatically that
he's not saying that it's racist to tell someone they're articulate, no matter what.
Well done, Jimmy Dean. Well fucking done. Well done. I should ban you for being a racist. You're racist. How dare you ask where I'm from?
Lutch, what I'm saying is that it's. Let me tell you a story. So it's a short story, I promise. I work for a university, and at that university, we have a specific group for first generation students. Still with me? This group for first generation students is to give them additional help if they need it, because a lot of us have help from our parents when we go to school because our parents have been there before. Does this still make sense? We're all still on the same page. There was a meeting for this group of students to recognize some of the great work that they had been doing. And someone said at the beginning of the meeting, a person of power said, "This is such a great, great thing that we're doing here today." Starting off well. Agreed. Great thing that we're doing. Recognizing the work of our students. I'm amazed at how articulate these presentations have been. Do you see something wrong with that sentence?
No.
No.
Why are you amazed that it's so good?
Because
you didn't
maybe the
expect it to be good?
presentations are really good.
Totally, but that's not amazement that they're articulate. Amazement that they're articulate is saying, I didn't expect it to be. Wow, this is so out of the ordinary.
Yes, that's what amazing means.
Are articulate.
That's what amazing means.
Totally.
It's not offensive to go beyond people's expectations.
Wait, it's the presentation is good. That is a statement. You were articulate.
Well, did you expect it to be bad?
No. Because when you're saying something is articulate, you're saying the person was better than you expected. Whereas the presentation, the object is better than expected. When you're saying that the person is more articulate,
maybe you work at a college and you think of college students as the average college student. And so then when you're talking about the high level college students, then it blows you out of the water because you work at a college and mostly what you see is average college student work.
I agree, Lutch. That's entirely possible. I agree. But that's why you have to say it. This is such a good presentation.
This is why I think that not you personally, but you, the person who was offended, needs to fucking grow the fuck up and realize that nobody is trying to offend you by complimenting you. And if they are, then call them out on it. And if they really are, then they either will step up and fucking say, yeah, fuck you, or they're going to be a little bitch and you fucking won. Then
Lutch, you're spot on. You're on it. You're so close. And that is that if you are called out on it because of the way it makes someone feel, and you address it and you say, that wasn't my intent, I'm so sorry for the impact, you've done your deed. You're good. So everyone makes mistakes.
That sounds that sounds like fineness with extra steps. That sounds like winning with extra steps. Nobody's offended and nobody said anything wrong, but extra words had to be said.
No, that person was offended. That's why they brought it up.
But they didn't have to be. They chose to be.
It doesn't matter that they didn't have to be.
No.
You could call me a fat ass and I don't have to take that the wrong way.
They chose. Okay, but I
would be offended.
We said a lot of things. We said a lot of things. And you could choose to take any of the things that we're talking about and be offended by them. And never want to talk to me again. I can't do anything about that, Ryan.
Lutch, you haven't made any comments about me as a person.
Okay, but I
haven't said, Ryan, you're bad.
Because that's not the way I talk. But the things that the things that I've been saying, many people would be in the position where I can't even talk to you. You're such a this, you're such a that, whatever the fuck word they would call.
Not trying to be a dick, but literally like what?
Like the CRT stuff? I mean, and I genuinely am not putting Dr. Evil Genius down when I bring this up. I just want to bring the level of impact that I didn't realize. But we were having a conversation about, job applications and the name on a job on the application.
It's important.
We agreed that, yeah, obviously it's shitty if, somebody sees Raekwon versus Kyle and picks Kyle just because of the name.
Sure.
And even that some people may pick Kyle, not purposely,
subconsciously.
And I was like, that's shitty, but still that doesn't mean that you don't get a job. You just don't get that job. And in the same way that, every fucking girl that I've ever met who has decided that 5'4" is too short for her, I just don't get that girl. That doesn't mean that there's not other girls.
Actually,
Lutch,
well, continue your thought. I want to. Sorry for
the point being was that Dr. Evil Genius got very upset at this, and
you're denying them an opportunity based on their name.
Yeah, and I never at any point denied that was a shitty thing. I stressed. I mean, Anna would back me up that I wasn't pushing aside the shittiness of that. I was saying, as shitty as it is, it doesn't change your situation that, okay, you don't have this job now, so what are you going to do? And the fact is, you can literally cry about it, or you can go apply somewhere where there's not a racist asshole. And he got upset about that way more than I would have thought.
You're talking about the morality of the action in terms to the person's reaction to it, though.
Yeah,
right.
I think the biggest issue was the lack of empathy that you displayed.
Right.
That was probably...
And so that's what I'm explaining. That's what I'm explaining, that he got upset that I had a lack of empathy for the specific situation, and that he was well, let's just say he was gracious enough to understand that it wasn't coming from a bad place, and that B, even though he was upset by it, he was able to articulate to me why he didn't like what I said.
Yeah,
and so
we should be able to do that.
Okay, but you can't attach that punishment to the person before you do that.
No one said that we were doing that.
That's what happens oftentimes in.
I don't disagree with you. I think it does happen a lot,
and that's what I have an issue with. When people are not given this idea of redemption should be something that is baked into this. You lefties like to say it's not cancel culture; it's accountability culture. Okay, fine. But if people are going to be accountable for the bullshit that they do, then we just like the murderers and literal arpists, they get a chance to redeem themselves and get back and come back into society. And so somebody who tweets something that you don't like, somebody that says something that you don't like, that shouldn't be the end of their livelihood.
And it most of the time is not. I think if you are an arpist or a murderer, you're often completely canceled, which I don't necessarily disagree with personally.
Sometimes go to prison.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think you should be shunned from society for doing those things.
Yes.
I think
let's just put it out there. I am against RPay and I am against murder.
Totally.
So everybody's clear.
Yes. I think the redemption piece is huge, but I think there's also the accountability piece in the sense that you have to acknowledge that what you did was wrong. It's not, I'm sorry I made you feel this way. It's, I'm sorry what I said made you feel that way.
Well,
I'm sorry you interpreted what I had to say that way. Is not an admission of how you made someone feel.
Well, and that's a great point that I would like to dig into a little bit.
Sure.
Because there absolutely should be, if you unwittingly said something that you would let's say, specifically when we were in the conversation, we were about the job applications. We had willingly entered that conversations to discuss that. So at that point, it's not like I'm just coming out of nowhere and be like, yeah, black people shouldn't give a shit. That's not the context. But
the problem is that it's emotionally charged,
right?
Lutch.
So, but at the point of agreeing to have the conversation. So sure. Just to use the example, at the point at which he got upset, he was willing to again hear me out and say, look, I doubled down, and I was like, no, I do believe that, it's not the end of the world. It's a horrible thing. It should never be excused, but should it be the end of your life as a black man because you didn't get one job? No, that's where I stand on this issue.
What if that's systemic though?
I believe that I don't argue that it's not, but on a case by case basis, nothing is. It's just case by case, and so whether there is a system of people, treating black people poorly or not, which I believe there is. Yes, I believe there is, but whether there is or not, the fact is that not every single person is going to be that person. And if we live in a world where there are some people who are going to judge you for your immutable characteristics, whether it's your height, whether it's your skin color, whether it's how many fingers you have or anything else, then if you are denied access to something you need in one situation, then I don't see the issue with saying, okay, as bad as that was bad. That was bad over here. But you still need to fix your situation. It's still on you to fix your situation.
I just feel like you're taking it a leap to a place that it wasn't. Like,
I don't know what you mean by that.
I mean, like,
Maybe it was a bad idea to use the specific example because it was a little bit in the weeds. But what do you mean?
Like, I don't think that a person's response to being treated that way changes what happened at all. So, like,
as I said, it doesn't. Yeah.
So they're saying, like, I agree with you. Their life shouldn't be over, but that doesn't make what happened any less wrong or something that we shouldn't address.
That's what I said. That was exactly my point.
So we're on the same page then.
Yeah, that there's no excusing that somebody, because of your name, would just deny you a job without even, perhaps even especially if they're not doing it consciously. So
why isn't it a full stop there?
Because you still need a fucking job. The point is that you need a job. It's more important that you get a job than whether or not this random asshole does this to you or that. That's the point. The point is that you need to be the main character of your own story.
Nothing would ever change if people didn't dwell on wrongs, though.
I didn't say don't dwell on wrongs. But making it your identity, making your victimhood your identity, is not a path to success.
Wait,
I don't think people are doing that, man.
This is not what's happening. This is the step too far that's happening.
Okay, explain to me.
So,
who's making victimhood their identity?
A lot of people.
Like, how so?
The black man can't do this because the white man's keeping me down. You never heard that before?
It's correct.
Not from real people.
It's correct.
I mean, all right. If the tall man,
person,
fine. The tall man's keeping me down. Great.
Listen,
where's my pussy? Is pussy walking through the door?
You're not entitled to that, though.
Oh, I'm not entitled to. So what am I entitled to?
Just like someone isn't entitled to a job.
So what am I entitled to?
Nothing.
You're entitled. Okay.
In an ideal society, you would be entitled to a lot of things.
Say it again.
In an ideal society, you would be entitled to a lot of things.
Right, but we're not in an ideal society, right?
Yeah.
So what's the difference between me crying about not getting pussy from that girl because she thought I was too short, and that guy not giving me a job because
of your name?
Yes.
The difference is that one of them is about opportunity.
Wait,
how?
No,
one of them is about basic survival.
I mean, yeah, one of them is about basic survival, but I think they both are about opportunity. I think sexual needs exist just the same as any other.
I agree that sexual
That's
needs
so
are there,
far beyond the point.
It's about someone else's
so far
autonomy.
Beyond the point. Jesus fucking Christ!
Somebody else is involved in that equation.
What about the equation?
Someone else is involved in the equation when there's a woman involved.
Well,
I was there with a job offer, motherfucker. You think you what?
Listen. It's not that the person is entitled to the job. It's that they're entitled to the fair opportunity to pursue it.
Yeah. I think
so. You have every opportunity to pursue that woman, but you're not being discriminated against because she tells you she's not interested in you, regardless of why she chooses not to.
Wait, no. Definitely.
Same about the fucking person with the job.
No, they're being discriminated against.
Wait, so am I.
No, you are not.
Wait, no.
Yes, I am.
You're wrong.
Someone is telling you no, and you don't like it. That's
Wait,
the
wait.
difference.
Right. Same with the job opportunity, dude. I
Why
know you
is
don't
the
like it.
reason?
I know
Okay.
you don't like it, but they are completely analogous.
No,
Nobody
they're not,
owes you a
dude.
job and nobody owes you sex. I'm sorry that you have not experienced the same things that I've experienced, but the fact that you are of a certain skin color does not mean that you are
Dude.
entitled to a certain type of job. Because you are a certain height does not make you entitled to a
I'm
certain
not
level of
saying
intimacy.
they deserve the
It's
job.
it sure as shit sounds like you're saying that.
I'm saying they deserve a chance to
I'm saying I deserve a
apply
chance.
for it.
Don't I
without
deserve a
their na-
chance?
You
Don't I
have
deserve a chance?
You can go up and shoot your shot.
Okay, so they can apply,
Yeah, but if she's
but they're
saying
gonna get
to
shot
you,
down. But I'm gonna get shot down. But it's okay if I get shot down. But it's
if
not okay
she's
if they
saying
get shot down.
if she's saying to you because you are black, I don't want to date you, there's a problem with that.
Okay, and
Okay.
I've heard that many of times.
And I don't
That
want
is
to date you
fucked
because
up,
you're
dude.
short. Wait,
Okay, and
replace
yeah.
black with short, and it's the same level of fucked up. They both are fucked up.
Come on,
Height
Jimmy
preference-
Dean. Why you gotta? Why you gotta?
No,
but exactly. That's thank you, Anirudh. Thank you, Anirudh. Because
height
the
is an
fact
immutable
is,
characteristic.
whether the impact and the argument you should be making is that the impact is not the same, which I would even argue against.
Wait, no, the impacts are definitely not the same. I don't know where
Agreed.
you can argue.
How many times you've what studies have you read about people under 5'5" that you could
Like-
compare to studies about black people?
what?
I'm
You
very
said
confused.
you said you made a claim that the impact of racism is worse than the impact of heightism.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, where is the prove it?
So let's take a look at a job application. Let's say you apply on a job application. You don't have to list your height, but it signals that you are black by your name in some instances.
I'm not actually making the argument. The point is the point that I'm making is that I'm not. You don't fucking. They don't care about what when you're trying to court a woman. There's different criteria, and the fact of
And their personal preference.
right.
Sure.
Same thing.
Not all personal preferences are valid. There are some that are definitely racist, and
Yeah,
heightism
totally.
is also not valid.
And what
I
is also
agree.
not valid?
I
What is
agree.
also not-
Heightism, discrimination based on height.
It's
But that
considerably
absolutely
less.
100% is valid.
I
That
agree. I agree.
absolutely is valid.
We're all agreed. We're all agreed.
No, Anirudh just said it's not valid.
No, he did. He said
No,
it
I
was
said
valid.
that. No,
He
you
said it was
cannot.
valid.
You should not discriminate based on height. That's-
Agreed. We're all. I swear, we're all on the same page, Lutch.
We're not.
We
Because
all
if
agree that you
don't-
should not discriminate based on height.
No, I am not on the same page. If you are a tall girl and you don't want some little shrimp dude next to you, that's perfectly fine.
I agree, because I don't think that that's
You
an
just
issue.
said you shouldn't. You're
It's
talking
personal
out of
preference,
I-
but
I-
that's
I-
not
I-
heightism. That's
wait,
preference.
no. So if you have a personal preference that I will
So
only
what the
date a
fuck is
person of a
that?
certain
Okay,
race,
so
that's racist.
I get lost with all these isms. What is heightism then? If
I
that if you saying I won't date anyone under 6
It's
foot,
denying you something you are entitled to. Is the ism.
and how is that relevant to what we're talking about? If it's not dating,
Because in the job, you are denied the opportunity to fairly compete for it. In dating, you are not denied the opportunity to fairly compete for it.
Yes,
you shoot
are.
your shot, and she says to you, "Sorry, I'm not interested."
okay, and fair enough. But the point that I am making, and I take your point. I take your point. Fair enough. But the point that I'm trying to make is that if as a person who is equally not entitled to any one particular job,
Sure.
let's put it that way, I'm not entitled to any one particular job, just like I'm not entitled to any woman.
Sure.
And so I may shoot my shot with a woman, and I may shoot my shot with a particular job.
Mhm.
And for whatever reason, I fail. The success of getting that job, a different job, that woman, a different woman, whatever, lays on me. Do we disagree there?
Yes, I do disagree.
Where?
I disagree that it's all about that it's a meritocracy, that it's all about you and who you are. That's just not true in any sense.
I mean,
His
I think
statement
that
is
is
that
the
it's
case,
his
but-
responsibility. That
Yeah.
it's his
Thank you.
responsibility to find a job, not anyone else's responsibility to give him a job.
Right.
I agree. That doesn't mean
That was-
that if
Good.
you're looking at a job and I don't know, pick a fucking construction job, whatever it might be. I don't know, anything, any job on the face of the planet. If in an absolutely perfect, ideal world, the way things should be, it is about how well you can do the job. You should not be discriminated against for your height or for your race. Period. You should be given an equal opportunity. So the person might decide at the end of the line, you know, I got two candidates with the exact same credentials. They can do the job the exact same. I'm going to pick this guy because I like him better. I enjoy his company more. Totally valid. 100% valid. Where it is against the law and fucked up and racist is if you say it's because of someone's name. It's not saying I just don't prefer their name. It's saying I think because of what they are called and what comes with that, they are not qualified to do the job. And it's not true. It's the same thing with height. It is the same thing with height in the sense that if it comes down to, hey, this person can do the job equally as well, but they're 5'4", so I don't like them. This is all legal stuff. It's not about preference. It's not about, this is all against the law.
No, and I think Jimmy Dean puts it well here. That a good example of your argument, Ryan.
Yes,
getting shut down by a girl in the nightclub is different than the club not even letting you in purely because of your height. Fair enough.
Spot on, man.
I would disagree with that analogy. So I think of it this way: you
Really?
shoot your shot with a girl. She says, "I don't want to date you because you're short." She's in the wrong. She says, "I don't want to date you because I don't think you have a good sense of style."
Wait! Stop there. Why is
That's
she wrong?
perfectly
Why is she wrong? She's
Because
allowed
she's
to
saying
let.
that- So
Why is she not allowed
refusing
to
to-
not like short guys? Do you like fat
refusing
chicks?
to date.
Do you like fat chicks?
Listen.
Do you like fat chicks?
1 second.
I don't know what define fat. Give me like a number.
Just don't, we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there, guys. It's
A
not worth it.
BMI that makes her morbidly obese.
It's not
according
worth
to
it.
science.
Don't go there. The point is,
You know
that
you ain't trying to fuck no fat chicks. Come on.
it's personal preference. And some people value other things more in their lives. Some people like to work out. I'm a fat piece of shit. And I know that I don't have a chance with a myriad of women for that reason. But that's also something I have to accept. It doesn't mean that I'm entitled to a woman because her preferences are a different way than me.
I'm coming
at all.
Yeah, and I'm coming from it on the other side that you don't, not you specifically, but if that, you specifically with a woman specifically, if that specific woman says you've got to be a certain figure, then no, you don't deserve her vagine the same way. If she says you need to be a certain height, then I don't deserve it.
It's about immutable characteristics. You can't change your height. You can change your weight.
Well, no,
so one
I
is
think
okay to discriminate on you, the other one isn't.
Right. Well, Ryan, I think in this specific case, we could talk about deserve because it's her body. But I
no, I mean, that's what I'm saying. We have no deserving. It's her choice.
Yeah.
All right. I thought you were...
No, but there's some places, there's some standards that are unjustifiable. So you can't discriminate on people based on their immutable characteristics. I think that holds across the board, whether that's height or race. If someone refuses to date you because of that reason, then I think that's just wrong. I don't think racial preferences or height preferences in dating are justifiable
I think it's
ethically.
fucked up and tells you they're a bad person, but it's not against the law.
I don't think it is.
I don't think it should be against the law. No, I'm just saying that they are ethically bad.
No, I don't even think it's that. Disagree. I think preferences are just preferences. And again, it comes back to, you don't have to fucking answer it, but do you like fat chicks? The idea is the same. The idea is the same. You don't have to incriminate yourself as the but the idea is that you're not wrong for being attracted to what you're attracted to. In the same way that a gay man is not wrong for being attracted to a man instead of a woman, I am not wrong for being attracted to a fit woman as opposed to a fat woman. Do we disagree on that?
It's if you start
there's nothing wrong there
treating her differently as a human being that it's a problem.
Differently, that only comes to a head if she asks to date me. Then yes, I'm going to treat her differently because no, I don't want to date her, and there's other women which I do want to date.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Does it mean that you value different things than other people value? Sure, that's everyone. I'm not going to tell you that I agree with you. Yeah. It doesn't mean that you're a horrible person. It just means like you have your preferences,
and I think preferences are perfectly fine as far as they go. If you're a furry, do your thing. But we got a couple from Jimmy Dean here. We got y'all mentioning the
Yo, Jimmy's
name
been
study.
with us all night. Jimmy's
A
killing it.
fucking champ.
I gotta go soon, guys. I'm fucking losing
yeah,
my
well,
voice.
Yeah, I actually have to go
well,
as well.
We'll after these we'll give some closing statements. So y'all are mentioning the name study a lot.
Yeah, there's a study. There was a study done about the frequency of job application denials and black and brown.
Oh, the
sounding
name
names.
study.
Yeah,
I thought. All right, okay. The name study. I thought okay. You're mentioning the name study last. Let me chime in. If I remember correctly, the disparity in applicants went away, considering traditionally black names like Brown to new black names. I don't know what the fuck that means. Not saying race wasn't a factor, but maybe the discrepancy was that people named Deshaun tend to be younger rather than older and therefore less experienced. And finally, let's just finish. I like anyone who will. You almost had me there, pal. You almost had me. I'll put it on screen, but I'm certainly not going to read that. But
oh, Jimmy.
So I think
let's close it out.
Yeah, I think we covered a number of areas that deserve to be covered, and I don't know that I don't know that I can say I've necessarily changed my position on much, but I definitely can say that I understand your position a bit better.
I appreciate that. I'd say that's fair.
Anybody else?
I did enjoy this conversation, even though it went crazy for a couple of minutes. I still feel like I don't really understand Lutch's position as well, just because the way that I view the world is very much, this is the information, this is a decision we make after it. I feel like Lutch just has certain other factors he's taking into consideration that I just don't care about.
Like what?
For example, I don't really care all that much about necessarily the intrinsic value of, I guess, like the certain idea that there are beliefs, or I guess Lutch wants a world where everyone is heard and that their rights are never never stripped off. And I feel like there's some sort of level that he wants some. I don't know how to phrase this exactly.
I mean, you got me. You got me down to the.
No, it's not about that, Lutch. He's struggling to articulate. That's fine. Come back to it if you want.
Wait, I think it. So Lutch has, I guess, this idealistic world where all of our rights are purposefully is something that we can exercise perfectly, and I think it's very important for him that we are able to achieve that world. Whereas for me, I'm kind of more cynical on that, where I just don't think that world exists. So the best we can do is like some market basket of different rights to maximize freedom. We might have like a different definition of freedom. And for that, there are certain things that I would not take into consideration that he does.
Fair enough.
That was a close second articulated, but it's still a little complicated.
No, I mean, are you saying that you just differ philosophically in your idealism? He thinks that there is the possibility for everyone to have rights the right way. I don't know. I'm trying to articulate what you're saying. I'm sorry. It's like a telephone game. I'm trying to spit it back out. And
it's so I think, so Lutch, correct me if I'm wrong, but do you believe that if there's a world where if we like all maximize our freedom, that like your libertarian paradise, that the world will be a better place? Is that safe to say?
Ideally, yes, but I mean, as much as I mean, it's not that. In the same sense that anybody who has their ideals has that utopia in mind, and doesn't necessarily believe that utopia is practical, but that's the goal that we're pushing towards. So yes, I think the non-aggression principle is the if we had to have one thing that we were going to take to its perfect ideal, and we only had one thing, then the non-aggression principle would be the best thing that everybody is enacting all of the time. I think that would be the best world that we could have.
Yeah, so my disagreement
Not that
would
that's
be,
practical.
my disagreement isn't that we should find like one ideal and take it to the end conclusion. It's that I just believe in improving the material conditions of people and dealing with like essentially the most basic physiological needs first. And the broader like utopian thinking is not something that I'm concerned about.
Fair enough. Just to respond to that really quickly, I'm not saying that we should focus on one ideal. I was just saying if we were to focus on one ideal, that would be it. The non.
Yeah, so you like ideals, whereas I'm kind of jaded. I don't believe in ideals.
Would you call yourself black-pilled?
I don't know what that means.
I mean, like, the red pill, blue pill, and then a white pill would be having optimism, and black pill thinking we're doomed for like Dr. Evil Genius is black pilled.
I don't think that we're doomed. I don't have high expectations. I think it's possible. I just don't see it in my life.
Fair enough.
I identify a lot with what both of you were saying.
So, aside from, we'll go around and do plugs again, but per this conversation, Ryan, the floor is yours.
I mean, I agree with Anirudh in the sense that I am incredibly pessimistic. I don't have a lot of hope that a ton of things are going to change in my lifetime, but I feel a duty to the future to work towards ideals because I am being given a better society, arguably, than the people who were here before me. So if all hope is lost, nothing ever changes. So I definitely don't think all hope is lost, but that doesn't mean that I'm hopeful either, is the way that I would put it. And I think looking at both of you, I think both of you have elements of exactly what I'm saying, because I know Lutch is not always hopeful. And I know that Anirudh, that you care about things and want things to change in certain directions too. It's just what you're prioritizing more, which I think isn't an argument. It's just speaking to who each of you are.
Yeah, well put. I definitely think that's a good way to put it. And obviously, at least for the three of us, we have different opinions. And we're all atheists. But aside from that, there's a lot of disagreements in the in the minutia. And I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing. I think that's a feature, not a bug. And that it's more about.
Sorry, Archive 81, you got me.
How fucking good was that show, Anirudh?
Show.
As soon as this ends, go watch Archive 81. It's so good. But yes,
I will watch it during spring break.
Fair enough. I do think that.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. You just caught me.
If you're gonna cut me off, that's the way to do it. I mean, the between the three of us, I think there is so much more that we agree on than we disagree on. And even if that isn't the case, then when we take our positions to their logical conclusions as we see them, that's where our similarities lie. And when you have that, then that's something to be valued. So as long as people are, Ryan, I believe we were talking about, if not specifically this book, we're definitely talking about Sam Harris, but The Moral Landscape. And Anirudh, I don't know if you're familiar with this book and this concept of the moral landscape by Sam Harris. Definitely something you should check out. It's apolitical, it's atheist in nature, but it's just about morality in general, and that's really what I use as my North Star. Is it basically just puts human suffering and human well-being as the two ends of the spectrum, and that and Jimmy as well, the three of us on the panel, and of course our beloved Sausage Master. You've been deemed the Sausage Master, Jimmy. But so if you thank you guys so much for this conversation, man. I really I think we got somewhere, and I'm not gonna lie, I think Jimmy's right with this one, that I moved a little bit. I like having these conversations because I like to find out where I'm wrong so that I can be more right, because I love being right.
And it's good when we love being wrong too. It just means you're learning and growing.
Oh, I hate being wrong. That's exactly why I got to change my mind.
I'm not trying to be wrong. It never feels good, that's for sure. And I agree. I love getting a new perspective and hearing what you guys have to say, even if it's not necessarily what I came in with.
Definitely. So, Ryan, I'm gonna throw it to you. Any plugs? Your book? Any of that stuff? The floor is yours.
I'll plug my book any day, man. My Instagram is @Bedell, RYBEDELL. You can find the link to my book there. It's called Altar Boy to Atheist, Giving Up God. It's a story about me, narcissism over here, clearly. And how I went from being very, very, very Catholic to very, very, very atheist. So I don't really do anything else with my time, so I don't have anything else to plug, but hopefully I will be back on here soon to talk with y'all more.
I will be happy to have you back. And when he says Catholic when he said he was really Catholic, this man was protesting abortion clinics and shit.
I did.
Like, Jesus fucking Christ, bro.
I was youth group leader, man. I was
gotta show the kids how to do it right.
I was in it deep.
And Anirudh, the floor is yours for your book and anything else.
All right. Before I make the plug, I just want to say there is one thing that I did change my mind on. This is probably the importance. So I made the claim erroneously that I think that we could trust mainstream media more. And on some level, that's true. But I do think that the perverse incentives, especially with the nature that which they write salacious headlines, in a world where we have people who are equipped and critically thinking enough to go read beyond that and try to educate themselves and understand the bias of mainstream media, we could probably get away with saying mainstream media is better. In a world where people are not able to decode biases, maybe the claim that mainstream media is better than independent media is kind of a stretch. I should definitely walk back on that statement because I can't judge everyone in the same way that I think. So I will walk back on that statement. I was definitely wrong thinking back about it. But as for the plug, I am host of The Dialectic with Anirudh Garg on YouTube. My Instagram is Anirudh Garg Official. My book is coming out hopefully in May. I'm still finalizing cover design, so if you keep a lookout at that, you can start voting for which cover you like better. But that's basically me.
Nice, dude. It takes a big person to get up and on a video and admit what they have changed on. I respect both of you a lot for that.
I echo that sentiment. Thank you very much. And again, thank you guys again for coming onto the platform, having the conversation. We started off as three atheists having a conversation about that, and we knew it was gonna go left. And you guys are still here with me, so I really appreciate that.
2.5 hours later, baby. And Jimmy, no priest showed me their sausages.
Oh. If you go check out IDRYB 19, you get the whole story. And
dude, the fact that Jimmy has worked like sausage and meat into literally every comment is pretty impressive at the end of the day.
That's why we love Jimmy.
I mean, he could probably think about converting to Islam.
Rough.
Beautiful. All right, guys. Well, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on. We're definitely going to do this again. I don't know what the topic will be, but I know that you guys will fit the bill. And I really appreciate you guys coming on, being open, being honest, and being real. I feel like no matter what the topic is and what what's going on, what we're talking about, that is something that is becoming increasingly rare. And so for you guys to come up and, be real with me, I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you too, man. Thanks for providing the forum.
Yeah, see you.
Definitely.
Always a pleasure.
All right. You guys have a good night.
Take care, guys.
Later. All right. Peace out. All right. So that was interesting. Both two lefty guys. And the first thing I want to revisit is the fact that we're all atheists. So if you think that atheists just sit around and talk about how stupid God is, well, We do that to a certain extent. But you're wrong. We have other shit going on. That's really the underlying theme of this stream. I don't know how clearly that's coming through, but the underlying theme is that atheists are just normal people. We're just regular people. All we want is for you to stop acting like your belief in this ridiculous notion of a man in the sky is something that we need to subscribe to, and we need to not only subscribe to but pretend that you subscribing to it is not something weird. That I'm saying that am I here? I'm gonna keep talking. They're telling me I'm here, so I'm gonna keep going. Yeah, they whether it's politics or religion or anything else, the idea that people on the other side are incapable of thought, incapable of understanding, is something baked into the any kind of propaganda that is there for dividing us. And that's really, whatever you want to call whoever you want to think is pulling the strings, whether you think it's the president, whether you think it's the Illuminati, whether you think it's some what's the fucking thing, the Freemason, whatever you think, there's somebody or some group of people, and they are certainly trying to make sure that we don't have these conversations. And so just by doing it, we are winning. And we're going to continue doing it. We're going to continue having these conversations. It's not always going to be fun. It's not always going to be comfortable. It's not always going to be, easy to listen to. But I'm dedicated to, even if I have to put myself in the position of, oh man, Lutch, are you sure you want to say that? I will be that person. I will put myself in the light of fire so that we can have these conversations, so that we can figure this shit out. Because if nobody else is going to do it, somebody's got to fucking do it. Somebody's got to do it. And it's not that nobody else is doing it. A lot of people are trying, and I give them credit for that. But I'm just kind of better at it than them. I think I'm doing everything I can to bring in the people that will challenge me the most, and doing everything I can to be at the top of my game, so that when we do have these conversations, they matter. And whether there's 2 of you watching or there's 2,000 of you watching, I don't feel that changes the impact of the conversation itself. Do I appreciate the 2 of you? Sure as shit. Jimmy and whoever else is watching right now, I appreciate you to no end. But even if there was 2,000 of you, I would say exactly the same things, and I'd feel exactly the same way. And I want you guys to get exactly the same message. I mean, let me know what this did for you. Did it do anything? Did it make you think about this differently, that differently, something differently? Did it bring something to your attention that you weren't aware of? Did it do anything? Am I just sitting here wasting fucking time, or am I making a difference? Let me know, please. And even if I'm not doing shit, those support links are down there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another IDRYB Live. I will be back. I've got somebody actually working on edits for me that will be doing, making the clips. So the clips will be professionally made this week. So look out for those. It's just trial week, so I don't know how long that's going to go. But clips are coming out this week. We got the support links. Go follow me, IDRYB Lutch, just like it says right under my name right here. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you again. You guys are awesome. And thank you again to Anirudh and Ryan Thank you to Darshan and Dr. Evil Genius who came up from this conversation and who I hope will be a part of the next one. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much. Peace.